Oh, well, hello there. Yes, please, do come in. Here, let me get that coat for you. Oh, wow. You look stunning. Like something Greek gods would write about and make those little bas-relief sculptures on. You know, the kind that almost look like a statue, but it's still sort of flat, like a painting on the wall. And still, it would only capture a half of your beauty. So please, do come sit on the couch while I get you a drink. Get you some martini, stirred, not shaken. Coming right up. So, tell me, how many of these does it take for that dress to wake up on my bedroom floor? No, please, wait, no, don't get up. I was jesting. Please, sit. Here's your drink. Better, yes? I know. The moment I swiped right, that you were special. I could see it in your eyes. The way you look at me. Oh, the robe, you ask? Yes, it's pure alpaca. Made from the softest fur known to man. Would you like to touch it? Yes. Opened or closed? No, slow down. I only meant that there's another robe underneath. Damn. She left rather abruptly. What will I do for the next hour before the other one shows up? I suppose maybe I'll see what's on the radio and get my lotion.
This is RPMMO Radio.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
A podcast all about role-playing and MMORPGs.
I like what you got. Good job.
With your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Sid, Jazz, Strafe, and Kishmas.
Everybody off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, RPers! Welcome to this very special and worth waiting for, hopefully, episode of RP MMO Radio. This is our 69th nice episode. I put on my robe and wizard hat. Let's
It was a long
ERP.
time coming.
That's right. A long, hard time coming. Oh,
Don't worry,
That's right.
you won't get shafted this time.
that's right. Or will you?
Oh my god.
I, of course, am one of your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, and with me today is our full crew, Jazz, Kishmas, Sib, and Strafe. We got Rahanar, our call screener, waiting for you over at rpmmradio.com/Discord if you actually want to say your piece on this very interesting topic that has been oddly requested by several listeners over the course of the last 2 years. I, like many, am not entirely sure why, but I like to think it's because we'll bring a certain menage a trois to it.
Wrong word, but funny.
What?
Nothing.
No, I'm fairly fluent in Portuguese. I'm pretty sure I had that right.
Okay.
And of course, I want to thank Yunfei in the chat, moderating and waving with creepy little big-eyed anime girl emojis.
Very segue.
Very, very. So, I also want to give a quick shout out and a special thanks to all of our Patreon donors, especially those at the Raid Boss level, like the Truth Bob. You, if you would like to be a Patreon, could do that at patreon.com/RPMRadio. Remember, anything at the $5 level or above gets you a nifty little sticker with the crying llama on it. I also want to give a quick shout out to Spipley for following us between shows, and Greg the Gaming Wizard for subscribing on twitch.tv/RPMMO Radio with a Twitch Prime, which we greatly appreciate. And you are both not only a good-looking wizard, you're the only Greg the Gaming Wizard that I want around us. That's frankly you're the only one.
Best.
That's right. So, do of course remember we're a podcast. If you're listening live, you can, and you've missed other episodes. If this is your first time here, you can always go to Apple Podcast, Android Podcast app, Spotify, and Podbean, wherever free podcasts are sold. It's fairly simple. If you don't know how to use a podcast and you have a smartphone, you should probably hit yourself in the head with a tack hammer because you clearly aren't deserving of the device. What? I'm just saying physical violence is sometimes the answer when it's self-inflicted.
It's not the answer.
I'm pretty sure psychiatrists would agree with me. Jazz?
Calling on our
Just say yes.
resident I'm professional. not going to say yes to that.
What?
Not even once.
Wow. Some social worker. So, all right, guys. No, really, I'm glad to have everyone here. We're going to make fun of ERP, but we're also going to talk very serious about ERP because, frankly, you can't really have an adult conversation without being a little bit childish when you're talking about roleplay and ERPing or MRPing, as is what I think many people are actually doing.
It's true.
But we'll get more into that after this little deviation, which we'll probably speed through. I don't know about anybody else. What have we been doing in roleplay? Let's go with the person that's closest to a mental health professional on this show. And also laughs like a lunatic for no reason whatsoever. I was gonna go with myself, clearly being a person of the people, by the people, and in
more
the people. Oh, what? Yeah, for the people. Yes, that was the English wording. The thing.
Sir, this is why I'm your Padawan.
Stuff.
Picking up the piece.
So, Jazz, what you do in roleplay?
Well, it was a quiet week. I did some roleplay with Sully on the Telvanni side of things. I did that primarily yesterday, but also a couple of days before that. I also found just on a fluke, one of my friends was in a zone where an Argonian guild was advertising, and he told me about it and was like, you have an Argonian that doesn't have a guild. Do you want to do this? So I contacted them, and I ended up joining on my Argonian. So I haven't had a chance to really do more than RPN, and I RP'd in with my husband, who also has an Argonian. And it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how the roleplay goes. They're very lore-centric, and they're very interesting.
That was, in a word, would you say that it was interesting?
Their name is Coda Sir Pack. 3 words. And
wait.
say,
Kishmas, did you hear the word I heard in that?
I didn't.
Coda?
Oh. That hurts.
Jess has absolutely no idea.
No, I have no idea.
I actually don't even know if that's what they mean, but there's this extra thing out there for the Elder Scrolls called the Coda. Written by... Kishmas, you know the story of that better than I do.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah.
I forget.
So, the writer of Morrowind and Knights of the Nine DLC for Oblivion, Michael Kirkbride, decided to write a little thing called Coda and tried to write it off as canon. And he also likes to argue with little kids on Reddit about it. So,
and didn't he write this after he was released from the...
it has
yeah, that was the problem.
There's also Dwemer spaceships in that book. So.
Oh, it's fanfic?
It's pretty much fanfic.
It's fan fiction from a guy that was actually a writer of one of the games, which makes which is why people put so much, it's not... If he was still hired, it wouldn't be fan fiction, but because he wasn't there when he did it, now it's fan fiction.
Right.
So there's like half of the Elder Scrolls people are like, it's real, and the other half are like, go fuck yourself.
Right. No, I'm thinking this is just an
I'm
Argonian
sure it's
word,
not, but
so-
I had to tease that because I heard it and I find it hysterical.
So
But no, that's cool.
Well,
that you,
anyway, it's an Argonian guild, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to role playing with them on a character that I get almost no role play on. So that will be interesting.
because it's a filthy handbag, right?
Yes.
No, and your wife has joined on her alt as well. So
Yeah. Well, she's a filthy pair of shoes. I don't know why that.
I did.
Why would you say that? Like I'm going to change my opinion just because she's part of it. Pfft. Have you heard me before? Ain't gonna happen.
We hear you all the time.
All the
the time.
Yeah.
It's because
It's
I'm worth
just
listening
bad.
to. Mm-hmm.
We'll go with
Whether
that.
you
all
like
the
it or
time.
not.
So that was really all I really did. I've really been handling some small drama fires and doing a lot of reading about Argonian lore, which I'm not as up on as I would like to be.
Cliff notes.
So a lot of lore out there on Argonians. I have no idea.
there he is.
So I had
Just
to
ask
do a lot of
caves,
reading.
man.
Yeah.
I have. I've been asking a lot of people, so I've gotten some good leads, and I did a lot of reading, and I understand a little more now. I also did Murkmire, and I finished Murkmire. So all in all, it's been a pretty busy week for me, but just not as much role play as I'd like. Just more busy work.
Yeah.
But part that happens in the holidays, and also when you run a guild. So.
Yep. Yeah. That's the way it goes.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead next. I really only role played kind of 1, maybe 2 days this week. I'm still not. My heart's just not in it yet. I did role play with Kishmas, and actually that was a lot of fun. Anytime those two, Tarvala and Kishmas's Roger get together, it's always at least a fun conversation because they really are like a big brother and sister. And
Yeah.
they always tease the shit out of each other, and she's injured, so they were talking about... It was actually a fairly serious conversation about war and how it never changes, but for me, the other problem is I'm still playing Red Dead Redemption 2, kind of a big game. Also, Fallout 76, kind of an even bigger game. So...
Yeah, we've lost quite a few people temporarily.
To both of those,
that.
yeah, it's a temporary thing, but it's also the holidays. So for me, getting home, I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but there's a lot of packages for postal workers this time of year.
Yes,
our hours nearly double. Kishmas would have clearly no idea about this either, working at Best Buy.
I haven't worked in the warehouse for 3 years, so.
Well, just being in the store, isn't it just like, you just see
busy.
the people, the greedy, grubby, just
I also hate-
jam hand people touching all your shit, and making it sticky.
I also hate UPS because they're such assholes to me.
They really are.
They're like, "Where's the manager to open up the door?" I'm like, I don't know. So I send them back to the warehouse without a manager. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah. Take that, UPS. We're like better than you.
They're like the asshole jocks, and USPS is like the nerds because like, hi, where's the manager? It's like,
I'm just glad to be here. Will you sign this? It's your stamps.
I work for the government.
Which, by the way, completely off the limit. I was delivering a package today. I know what it was. It was a GTX 1070 Ti because whoever shipped it just slapped a shipping label on the cellophane of the box that you would get off the shelf. I was like, that's not very good.
Yeah, because somebody could see that and steal it.
I knew what it was. I was like, oh, look.
That's an $800 card. Yeah, let's
it's
steal
about
that.
$350 now.
Oh, is it gone down?
The 1080s are the expensive one. 1070s.
Oh, right.
Still,
They're the
$300.
It's
Yeah,
$350.
it's a
You
lot of
can't
money,
blow that. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, ding dong. Oh, good, you're home. Here, take this. Because I didn't want to have to hide it in a bush, in a puddle.
Yeah.
I heard if you hide those underwater, they'll never find it.
They'll never find it, ever.
Mm-hmm. And if they do, they'll be so happy that it was still there. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Kishmas, what about you? What else did you do this week other than talk to me, which was obviously amazing?
Just basically doing family RP with Neff. Did the vampire event, which was pretty fun. It was kind of like a, excuse me, a rehashed version of a previous event, which was hilarious because it involved angry spirits. And I think it was a Robbie. When we first ran into an angry spirit, he decided to just banish it instead of, appease it.
Appease it.
Then it was so we automatically failed the event. But this time around, we were surrounded by people that were actually smart
And knew
So
the
we
lore
got
that,
to-
like, you don't just ghost
Yeah.
bust everything. If you're a Dunmer, they're kind of looked upon until they try to kill you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun. That's pretty much about it.
Fascinating. Strophe, good sir. Strophe?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Sib next. I just want to let you know.
Appreciate you, boss.
So, Sib, what'd you do this week?
That was awesome.
That was
That-
good.
Was a solid troll.
I knew you would at least appreciate it.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, my
Let's
God.
see. I was catching up with RP on Strophe because I have his character and my character are in a relationship. So I basically did a lot of that. I did do one RP event with Ericus, another good friend, and I was hoping the way I left it, they had went out to hunt for a spider for a Telvanni master, which is Jazz's character,
Yes.
and Sully. And whenever they got done, they went to a tavern and they were just having a drink, chatting, getting to know each other. And she walked off and left the spider sitting on the table. So they're going to have to go get another one.
Oh, no. He told
Yeah.
Sully it was done.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't know she walked off and left
Yeah.
it. So, she's just that kind of scatterbrain.
That's funny.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. And so I'm looking forward to going back and doing that. Then I too joined the Argonian Guild last night. I'm supposed to be RP'd in tonight after the show. So
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't know anything about the lore, so I'm actually looking forward to learning. So
They're salt rice farmers.
Oh, stop it.
When in doubt, remember Kishmas's quote.
you guys are so bad.
Yes.
We look forward to dominating you later, and not in the
Which
way
goes-
this episode would imply.
Which goes like this.
Mm-hmm.
Hippity hoppity,
Argonians are Dunmer property.
my man.
You guys are just jealous.
Nah. Why would I be jealous of a
'Cause you get-
slave?
Because you're not plain as Skelly. So you're just
I
jealous.
too wish I had mammalian boobs on a lizard. Wait. No, wait, no, that's never happened. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so opposite of that.
There you go. That's for you.
And
Anyway.
then-
And then I'm done.
all right, so I guess I'll have to actually go to Strophe for real because I don't have anyone to troll him with. So what'd you do, Strophe?
Well,
Now he's gun shy.
I would be too.
okay.
Strophe, Strophe, you fooled me once. Shame on you. Fooled me twice. You're once, twice, 3 times the lady.
Sir, I brought the tacos.
Tacos rule.
I think
That's
you're misunderestimating him.
I have misunderestimated many a people.
So role play.
Yes.
We did poetry night. We had a full house. I think Sib had patching issues. We didn't see her.
We had
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yes, I had patching issues.
Instead of Trath being there to host it,
It was
I had
funny.
Trath away late. Was he still in a Ayleid ruin? So he sent Trajan in his. And if you've met Trajan, you know he's a typical soldier, Imperial no less. So he came in, stood up, looked at everybody, said, yay, welcome to the Order of Old Marys and poetry.
It was
I'm
so
Trajan.
funny.
We're going to read fancy words.
And he is like, cop, I'll berries, cop.
So it was pretty funny. There was a lot of trollery going on
It was fun.
at Trath's expense. And the only odd thing is we have a few folks that show up all the time. They hang out in the background like the cool kids, and they don't participate. So it was me reading 2 poems, it was Jazz reading 2 poems, and it was Erica singing a long, somber tune. So that was a weird night.
Yeah, that was it, because they just stand there looking cool and they don't do anything usually. So
Did Eric stick to his rule?
yes,
He did.
he was just under the limit. So yeah.
Ooh, get him in trouble.
He stuck to the Lord K's addendum, yes. Other than that, I mean, I played Trath a little bit. Bully dropped by while Trath was cooking. They had stew, chatted about, this and that, just typical small role play, but it was nice. Bully burned her mouth. Trath gave her some mead, going, I wonder if this is going to go to good places later. I think she needs another. Anyway.
So,
Trath,
how many of these will it take you to tusk off?
And by tusk off, I mean that shirt. Anyway.
Yes. No, do go on.
So, yeah, Trath, after Telvanni night was over, drops by Sully's house, its former commander, when they were both in Legion in their younger days. They give people backstory. And she makes use of these small miniature Ayleid stones for memory crystals. And Trath makes them, so periodically goes and delivers them. He went over to talk to her, but she was kind of spaced out and freaked out and kind of kicked him out really quick. And Trath knew kind of what was up because he's known her before, and he gave her the look like, well, when you're ready to talk, you know where my door is. To which he heard a wine glass smash against the wall as soon as he closed the door. So he must have struck a nerve. And was like, well, someone's in a tizzy, and then off he went.
Yeah.
So it was small role-play moments this week, but it was still kind of fun.
Yeah.
It was.
That's always good. All right. Well, with that, let's go to... I have a quick little article. I'm sure a few of you may have heard of it, but given the episode on ERP...
Oh, I did forget one thing.
What was that?
And I might have mentioned it last week. If I did, correct me. I was on Rufus, and me and Ericus did a whole crazy show on last guild meeting.
Yes, you did.
Okay. Just
Did
making
you
sure.
mention? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he mentioned it last time.
Yeah, I remember now.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that, boss.
That's right. You better be.
I'm not sorry.
I want to get to Akihiko Kondo, 35-year-old school administrator, which actually makes this story a little creepier. He's a Japanese guy from Japan, if you didn't tell by the name, who is legally now married to his hologram of Hatsune Miku.
I mean, whatever floats their boat.
Right. Of course, the problem is for those that don't know Hatsune Miku, I'm sure you've seen her. It's the long, like, back of the legs, ponytail, blue-haired girl that actually sells out. She like 3D concerts across Asia. She's very, very popular. It's a lot of dubstep and things like that. There's nothing wrong with it. But they also have a little about 2-foot device now for, I think it was like $2,800 that she's basically like an interactive hologram, like a Siri or something like that. Or like that movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix, but without being voiced by, what's her face that plays Mystique? I just forgot her name. Jennifer
Scarlett.
Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence. My
bad. But yeah, so he married his hologram. Now, I'm all for love is love across the human spectrum. I start drawing the line at animals. And holograms, I don't know. I mean, like...
They can't consent. How can you marry an inanimate object? It can't say sure.
Yeah, well, in one way, he may be ahead of the curve with the way AI and AGI and things like that are coming. Marrying into the future computer overlords of our planet now, he may be in a cushy gig in like 10, 15 years.
I suppose.
I guess. But the funny thing about this is his mother didn't attend the wedding. I can't imagine that it was because of disappointment. I'm sure she was just busy that day. But the other part was that he also dropped $17,000 for a formal ceremony at a local hall.
Wow.
And remember now this hologram. I don't know if you ever seen the commercials. it's basically like it'll turn the lights on for you. It'll welcome you home. It's basically the brain of a smart house, just with a little hologram, which is cool in its own way. A little creepy, but cool. Now, the hologram wasn't there when they got married. It was Miku was kind of present in the form of a stuffed doll with a wedding ring on her wrist.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that just is really creepy.
So,
Okay.
Okie dokie.
So yeah, the you want to know the really great part? Gatebox, the makers of this hologram, they issued him a marriage certificate acknowledging that the union goes, quote, beyond dimensions. Get it? Because it's 3D. They're very clever.
That's terrifying.
They went along with it for advertising purposes.
You think that, do you, Jess? You think that? Mm-hmm. Kondo said that Gatebox has issued more than 3,700 certificates to other cross-dimensional couples. He's not alone.
That's terrifying.
Yes.
I suppose it's good that they're now no longer on the market and we don't have to worry about them.
Right.
But still,
and Japan has had they've had a really bad.
Well, they have very lax marriage.
Well,
laws.
They have a real problem with like men getting together with women. It's not like China where like, that's because there's, almost like a fraction of the women compared to the men because of their horrible laws on, only one child and they just drown girls in the rice paddies, things like that.
Yeah.
But in Japan, because of the work, just the culture of the working and things like that, they just don't have time for relationships and things like that, but they're still very lonely. And then they go to these holograms and the sex dolls like we've talked about before. Which, good work up in Canada on opening one of those. That won't be creepy after the first one's used.
No.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting story because it kind of, he's devoted. He did say, I never cheated on her. I've always been in love with Miku.
Okay.
So did you and everybody else that bought the exact same device. It's like me falling in love with my, Brita
smartphone.
Yeah, smartphone or my Mr. Coffee, given it is a gay relationship and you should accept it, just because it's a Mr. Coffee doesn't mean that we don't love each other. And I do love, coffee right here. See? Coffee. I love my coffee and I love Mr. Coffee for making it for me, but I'm not going to marry him.
You suck it up, right?
Right. I'm not that committed to him. I have trust issues and commitment problems. I'm just saying it's a little, but anyway, so yeah, that's
slurp it again. Yes.
Man.
This is going to be so bad.
Yeah, so welcome to the ERP episode. All right, well, moving on from the guy and his holographic girlfriend, which, by the way, we don't judge. We just think you're really creepy.
I judge.
To each their own, I say.
I don't judge. I just don't understand.
I don't judge. I'm just allowed to have an opinion. You're really super creepy.
That's a little out there.
Yeah. Oh, Cabalist. Oh, Wakachodo has a date tonight. Well, she can listen to podcasts too. She's got 2 ears. That's no excuse not to be here.
Woo!
Tell her to subscribe.
That's right. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and get ready to go into our main topic. But first, we have a sponsor from a well-known, I'd almost say celebrity on the show. So let's go ahead and see what we have for you today.
Well, hello there. Are you looking for the most amazing, scrumptious, mouth-watering thing that you will ever place between your lips? I bet you are. A thick, dripping in their own natural juices. Yummy. Hot to the touch. Oh, yeah. Here, let me blow on that for you. Mind if I have a bite? Oh, just place it between my lips. And, oh my, that's far too big. But I do like a challenge. Oh no. It dribbled down my chin. That is just what you can expect from hot Jessica. Steak and tater dinner. Our meat is nothing but the thickest cut. Juiciest cuts. Biggest cuts. Come on down to Hot Jessica's steak and tater dinner on Saturday for all you can eat. Fish tacos, they're one of the guys' favorites. And mine too.
Opening across the country in a city near you, Hot Jessica's STDs are burning their way in your direction. You'll be scratching at the door to get in, so come early or call for a reservation. Complimentary tiny combs come with every order of crabs. Hot Jessica's Steak and Taters Diner are the only diners that, the higher the alphabet our waitresses are rated, the bigger and better they are. All food is served to our exacting specifications and can be served standing, sitting, or on all fours. Hot Jessica's STDs. Coming soon to a town near you. Ha ha! Bring it on!
All right, well, that
I think I need
sounds
some ice water after that.
delicious.
I need a cigarette.
Holy cow!
I need a fan.
What color is she? I want to know. Already.
So red right now. I'm not even, I feel like I'm on fire.
Darling, you are on fire.
I need fan. Not in a hot way. It's just embarrassment. It's
Yeah.
just totally embarrassment.
Yeah.
I was like,
So
I
she
read that.
says,
And
Ashen.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I'll admit part of that was just to see if she could actually get through it. You did a good job. I'm proud of you.
I'm like sweating and like I know I'm beat red. I'm
Yeah.
like,
And I was
I just couldn't look at anything.
No.
I was like,
Yes, people. Jazz asked me what color. I was like, I can't look at her. She'll start laughing. So, well,
I would have.
be sure to try out those thick, juicy cuts of steak at Hot Jessica's STDs, located just across probably the street from you. They're opening everywhere. Go to your local titty bar for directions. So,
Make
with
sure
that,
you pop a penicillin before you go in the door.
don't forget your tiny comb with every order of crabs.
Hey.
Like I said, guys, it's ERP. If you can't laugh with it at least a little bit, I mean, it is a little silly. Role-playing silly to start with. ERP is silly.
It's pretend for adults.
It is pretend for adults, but it can actually still be fun. Now, we're going to take kind of a stand I think a lot of people probably aren't expecting, but we'll get into that. So what we'll go with over here is the basics. First, ERP stands for exotic roleplay. For those that aren't aware,
Erotic.
Erotic.
I meant erotic. I even wrote erotic.
Okay.
Exotic.
Well, I mean, Argonians.
No thanks.
Yeah.
I think
No
that'd be
thanks.
erotic.
Get back in my fields.
Yeah, erotic roleplay. Or, cyber sex, or a very bad program, also known as enterprising resource planning, which apparently nobody liked. I was looking up ERP and didn't put in term first, and then other shit came up. But we're actually here to talk about the first two, the erotic roleplay and the cyber sex part of it. And out of curiosity, that's why I had checked the Urban Dictionary, because if nothing else, Urban Dictionary is always worth the giggle. So here's what it had on ERP. It stands for erotic roleplay, as I said. Roleplay, in this definition, refers to the typing RP done in video games, chat rooms, and forums. ERP is a roleplay with little plot besides the quick sex scene between characters. There are no consequences and no long-term story behind it. The term is often confused with MRP, or mature roleplay, but that is very different. So for the purposes of what we're talking about, ERP would be the X-rated Pornhub stuff.
Yeah.
Now, what is MRP, you ask? Because it's not a term. It's MRP and ERP are basically, they're interchangeable.
They're lumped into this.
They're
They
lumped
lump into this.
Yes. Well, when a lot of people say that they ERP, Jazz, I know
I
you
don't
have.
ERP.
Right, but you've said that you do.
Well, yes, because that's what people
it's-
understand.
Right,
But
and
yes,
that's
it's MRP is
right.
what I usually.
Yeah, exactly, and that's my point. Is even though you yourself, we've been doing it because that's how most people understand it. But if we're gonna go into an in-depth conversation on this, I want you to know out there in listener land, as it were, we're talking a lot of ways about the people that ERP and MRP. We needed to differentiate between the two, because one is a little creepy. ERP just by itself, it can get in if and again, all right, we're gonna speak in generalities, so I'm gonna get this out of the way. We don't give a shit what you do as long as you're not hurting anybody. The end.
Yes.
So from there on, understand that we're talking in generalities. But there is a big difference between ERP and MRP. So with MRP, like I said, it stands for mature role players. But like I said, it also is often synonymous with ERP, and a lot of ERPers that just, bang someone, move on, bang someone, move on, bang someone, move on. That's what an ERPer is. There's no story, like the character, fucks off, and then they don't think anything about it.
And their character changes each time. They're really only there to get the erotic roleplay.
Get the pose.
Yeah. And yes, Gangsy Girl in the chat, to be fair, because we had to increase security after the troll that one time, certain words do have to be accepted in the Twitch chat. That's what Yunfei is for, and she's aware of the difference between them. So don't worry if it has to be erotic. Had to be approved. It's okay. You're all good.
That Gormal wrecks a lot of crap. He shows up every time.
Was the worst. So now with mature roleplay, this is roleplaying that may involve violence, strong language, drama, and quite often sex scenes. Though unlike ERP, the scenes are a subproduct of the roleplay and not the whole roleplay.
Right. And most of the people that we roleplay with probably focus more on MRP.
Right. And I would agree with that. But but at the same time, we've known the ERPers that pretend to be MRPers, but really it always ends in tears. And so out of curiosity, I'm curious what I didn't put us in there, but how many people that ERP would you actually consider more of an MRPer than an ERPer?
I'd say about 95%.
See, I was a 90-95 as well.
Yeah.
That's
I think there's
90.
always going to be some, but
I mean,
most
since
people
the
that we
invention
roleplay
of the
with-
internet chat room, there's always just
Well,
been like,
yes.
getting
There's ERP.
your rocks
I've
off.
ERP'd. I understand the need. I understand the interest in it. But when it comes to it's not role play by any stretch of the imagination. Is where we consider role play. At least that's how I look at it.
Right.
ERP is not role play. ERP is helping someone get a wankadoodle. There you go. That's it. That's all it's for.
Yeehaw.
And there's nothing wrong with it, but that's all it's
Wankadoodle.
for. It's just to help someone get off.
Yeah, the fact that you're in a video
it.
game as opposed to an AOL Instant Messenger chat, it's
Really
there's-
doesn't make a
or,
difference.
Or
It's
what's that
all-
new one? Kick, or you're in Kick,
Yeah.
which has a lot
not
of ERP.
wrong.
I think now that I think of it, I've never really ERPed before.
Right.
I think I've just MRP'd.
Yeah, because
I didn't even know MRP was actually a thing. I thought it was just,
Right.
I guess that's another word for ERP or whatever, blah blah.
yeah, it's not used very often. Like I said, ERP is often what they mean is MRP. Like what with Roger and Nathala, you guys you've popped out 2 in character kids. How did that happen?
Yeet. Stork.
Right, exactly. They were grown in a cabbage patch, or you guys banged uglies virtually. Either one.
Yes.
Right. But it was because, but aside from that, there's development of your characters before, after, and maybe during.
I mean,
something was growing. Ha ha! Am I right? Fist bump.
And it's also
my
important
gosh.
to point out that for some people, it's ERP, and for other people, that same exact scene could be MRP.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
If you're
The person you're hooking up with, quote unquote. Let's say your character goes to a bar and picks up somebody, takes them out, and bangs them, and then they go their separate ways. To you, that may be part of your story.
and to the other person, they just got they were like, cool, that was fun,
They
and
got
they're
their rocks off. That was fun, and their character changes every 2 hours with whoever.
or it has
they're
no
back
effect in it, or it has no
Right.
effect on them at all, or they
Right.
But
I do
for
think
you,
that
it
there's
was
a
like,
lot of people.
next week you're like, yeah, I hooked up with a guy a week ago. I never
Yeah.
heard back from him. Blah 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 blah.
Right.
You bring
it's
it
part
up.
Of my
it's
story,
part of
but
your
it's not,
character now.
Yeah, it's part of my story, but it might not have been part of theirs, and I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I do know that there are a lot of people who claim that it's MRP.
Yes, most of them will.
But
just because,
it's not, because they're creating a character specifically for, and a backstory and everything, just so that they can get off, or that they can have their character get off, so they have power over whoever they're getting off with.
yeah,
I'm not really sure which one's worse.
flip a coin.
But there's definitely people who pose as RPers or just RPers who really their sole purpose is to have a relationship and have sex with somebody constantly in MRP scenes. Is that ERP or is that MRP?
It's kind of a gray area. If the characters evolve and if they continue to do that, but they actually, it actually affects the characters and the way they interact outside of those two. Like if they mention it to other people, like, yeah, I'm with so and so, or I'm hooking up with so and so. That I would say, can go either. It really can go either way.
Yeah,
It's kind of
can go either way, and that's the reason
there's
I
that
posted
gray
it.
scale when you're like sliding from one into the other and back and forth. There's
Sliding.
like
I like that term. There's a nice visual there.
Yes. Slowly,
almost say-
slowly sliding.
I'd almost say sometimes it's just a means to an end so they can get to the ERP.
Right.
Some folks are like
They
that.
want
Some
the
folks
mature role play, and everything else is just build up and carry through. And there's limited consequences to their behavior because that wouldn't be fun. So it's really just dressed up ERP, but it's MRP because they still have a story to it. But we all know that there's a lot of, I would say at least half of all MRPers, maybe a little less, but I'm being mean. But at least half, in my opinion, are really just manufacturing stories so that their character can get laid.
Yeah. Yeah, and see, Gangsy Girls asked, what about people who have RP'd being a couple for a couple of weeks and want to take the next step? And to that, I would say that's
MRP.
That's MRP. It's a time dilation thing. Clearly in real life, most people go like at least a year plus before they start maybe not doing it together. But even that, it's a real life thing. In writing, you can do that. You can move on. It's like watching, basically porn on the internet. You do what you do, and then
porn.
you move on.
MRP is interactive porn,
Right.
essentially, for a lot of people.
And like if you're doing relationship role play and things like that, in real life, yes, it takes a long time to get to know people, but characters are not ever going to be as deep as an actual person that's lived the last 20-something years of their life. So relationships always move on a faster scale. It just has to, because you're not going to sit here and play, the dating game with two characters that don't have, no matter how much of a backstory you create, there's still only so much you have. And when you run out, you're like, well, let's start creating stories together, which is basically what you do in real life. You share what you have together, you decide that you're compatible and like the other person, and then you start creating a story together,
There you go.
But so I would say, that it's a logical thing, a week, or not a week, but, a couple weeks, a month plus, and you guys are comfortable and you start to get to know each other, then, see where the night takes you. A little glass of wine.
I know a lot of people that in real life don't wait that long.
Right. Well, yeah, that's casual.
It's a rare thing, actually. But
well, I was saying like a permanent relationship. I know, people. I've known you for tonight since you bought me shots. Let's get together. It happens. It's called a one night stand, and it's not what I thought it was when I was a kid, where you only get a stand by your side your bed for one night and then someone comes and takes it away. Totally, apparently not a thing.
Goes hand in hand with a bad piggyback ride, bro.
Yeah. And, Gangzy replied with, "We are dating, no sexual context." Or I should read the first part. I actually did for 1.5 years with Eric, and we are dating, no sexual contact, and that's fine. You had a boundary. I did as well for with Jazz. We never ERP, or never ERP'd. Basically, we MRP'd. Our characters were in a relationship, but we always faded to black because I don't do that. It's not something I cared about. So she knew the boundary. She was fine with the boundary. I said it. Yep. She has her own boundaries as well. I mean, they're way off in the distance, but there's a border. What I'm saying is that there is somewhere between here and Mars. There's a line, and you have to. Well, get
you know
your
what
ass
they
to
say:
Mars.
in any group of people, you have a hoe friend. If you don't see the hoe friend, then it's you.
Jazz.
Heard that.
In this group, I'm the hoe friend.
Okay,
so.
as long as I was gonna say you. I mean,
I have no illusions.
Okay,
don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the self-aware hoe friend.
She's the self-aware hoe friend. Just like Miku, the married computer, will be one day.
Yep.
Oh gosh.
They're self-aware.
Until
Good
the
things
AI
are
takes over.
they're only 1.5 tall holograms. They can't do anything but turn our lights off and on, and text us when we're asking us when we're on our way home. It was a really creepy commercial. So MRP will usually be a long-term roleplay, and anything that happens in the roleplay will affect the characters for the rest of their storyline, and that's a big difference.
Yes, it is.
MRP is suggested only to those who can understand adult situations and consequences, as well as those who do not mind having their character, it says die, but most people do mind that, or change completely if the RP calls for it. Now, change completely is a totally different thing. That in roleplay should always be something that's on the table depending on situations that come up. So that's the big, in like we said, we admit that MRP isn't a term that almost anybody in roleplay actually uses very often. It is a legitimate thing, but it's not used very much. They're almost synonymous. ERP and MRP are almost synonymous, but it's something that we needed to get to for the context of this conversation, because unfortunately we are going to have an adult conversation despite the dick and sex jokes. But we are actually going to go into it in a very serious way, because some of this stuff can have very scary and serious consequences if the person
can.
Yes, it can.
As 2 of the 5 of us here can attest to. There are very unstable people in roleplay, and a lot of the unstable people do ERP and sort of in MRP. But I mean,
MRP is also, and it should be stated this, at least I think it should be said, that ERP, I don't think has nearly the capacity of running into psychotics as MRP does, because MRP is more immersive and it feels more real. It tends to be more intimate, and it tends to last longer, and each contact makes you feel like you're more and more important to that person, especially if you're having issues. So MRP that you take all the way to the, happy ending, is more likely to cause a long-term problem than ERP. ERP is actually, in my opinion, is probably safer. You don't know this person.
It's
they
the
don't
one
know
night
you.
stand
They
without exchanging numbers.
Yep.
There's no other contact. It's done. It's over with. But
MRP can get ugly.
Can get very ugly very quickly if you're not careful.
Yeah, I want to.
I have to agree with that.
You always got people taken to the bad place. It's an unfortunate side effect of the internet.
Yeah, it's and it happens in role play. In most role play, at least when you start to get on a relationship level, or like it said, MRP isn't just about sex. It's those times when you with violence or strong language drama, things like that. When you're doing an interrogation, you're beating the shit out of somebody, you're shoving bamboo shoots up their ear hole or something.
Yeehaw!
Or
That's just terrifying.
Kishmas calls that a good night.
Yes.
I did want to say real quick, there's two good points I want in the Twitch chat. And remember, if you actually want to call in and say your piece on this, feel free, rpmradio.com/discord over our Discord server. Rohanar is standing by. Smiling Sorcerer, hi Smiley, the guy responsible for the Crying Llama, says, I've constantly had our peers ask me to be in relationships, claiming they like to have a meaningful romantic story that develops over time. Yet usually after 2 or 3 sessions, they get impatient and want to skip to the get to the good stuff. It's a shame people get impatient, especially when you find good RPers. And another one and this has happened, I know it happened to you, Faye, and I think it's happened to many role players, especially women. I don't know why. This one seems more to women than men, maybe because men are flaky at times. Gangzy had said, yeah, me and Eric's Tunes were supposed to get married, and then it was going to go there, but he poofed 2 months before the wedding, and 10 months later, not a word. Shame after nearly 2 years into the relationship and in the game. And that's where Jazz was saying about how the MRP can actually kind of hurt more when you get to know somebody as a friend like that. And as we will find out as we go from the list of innocent to holy shit, you will hear some stories that we've mentioned before and talked about. We were lovingly referred to them as Reveringry.
Lovingry?
That was.
We got Scooby on the show.
Yeah, Scooby, or I was doing a really racist Asian impression. I'm not really sure.
We'll go with Scooby. It was less annoying.
Less racist.
That was kind of racist. Less annoying.
Wow, you're right. Good catch.
Racism is annoying. Let's move on.
No, she's annoyed by all Asians. I get it. I hear you.
No, that is annoying.
Why don't you talk about the way they drive next, Jazz? Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh.
God. I'm sorry, guys. This is just. I apologize for Jazz. It's just she can't help it.
Oh my God.
She lives in
Jazz, I love you.
She lives in Iowa.
You married him.
Sorry, I know. I have no control over him.
You've known me longer.
That's true.
And
that's
you're
the sad
still
part.
here.
Yes. Which makes her complicit.
Who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who stays with him for 12 years?
Yeah. Not lying.
Yes. But yeah, like you were saying, Jazz, with the MRP being hurtful, when you get a good friend, or you think, quote unquote, a good friend for years and years, and then they either disappear without a word, which we've actually covered that. Hopefully they're okay and they just flaked out, because I would rather that than, oh yeah, they were hit by a car and you never hear from them again. Or they lose their shit. Something happens that doesn't go their way. It's not just one of those like I've had my bad days, Jazz, Kishma, Sib, Strafay. We've all had our bad days where we get grumpy.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We say things like, oh, that was, and the next day we're like, I'm sorry. It was kind of shitty of me. I apologize. My temper got out of control. It happens. We're all unfortunately human until Miku takes over.
It's going to be the Cylons
hail
and
Miku.
Skynet, man.
But this goes into a territory of terrifying. It actually gets scary, as we'll get to. So now that we have defined the difference between what we are considering ERP, which is the casual hookups and just like that's all there is. There's no substance to it. And MRP, why do you think ERP gets such a bad rap, and does it deserve it?
Well, sex has a bad rap.
Jealousy.
I mean, people, in my opinion,
No.
Shush. People have this idea, this puritanical kind of thing about sex,
Especially in the States.
Yeah.
I mean, I've grown up with
America.
it. I still think of it that way. So
America is like that. That's just, we're double standards. You know, we dress our women like whores, but then God forbid if you actually have sex, you're a whore.
But then if you look at her butt that says juicy on it, you're a bastard.
Right. You know, so we have this whole double standard thing going on in our country, and we always have. But at the same time, I think because there's no strings, I think usually in a one night stand online, in the sense of ERP hookups, you sometimes run into people who thought it meant more than it did.
Just like you would with a one night stand. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like any one night stand. Sometimes, I'll tell you one of mine. Met a guy, went home, great sex, no strings. I didn't even tell him my name. Okay, this guy did not know me from Adam. I'd never seen him before. We had a great time. I'm getting ready to leave, and he's like, "So, when can I meet your mom?"
Whoa!
I'm sorry. And he was like, "Well, I can come over for dinner tomorrow." And I said, "Sure, I'll call you." And I left, and I got out of there and ran.
Yeah.
So,
and then he was like, "Wait a minute, we never exchanged phone numbers."
No, we did not. I got out of there before he could catch me. But that kind of RP thing happens as well, where you have people who hook up who think it means more than it does, especially for people that are mentally or emotionally unstable, and they have an MRP or ERP situation, and then they think that this person and them are married.
Yeah.
Don't know how their mind makes that jump, but I think at least some of us have been there.
They are out there. They are
and
out
you're
there,
just like,
kid.
holy God, what in the hell? So yeah, that situation happens. And it happens in ERP and it happens in real life. So there's always going to be those people.
Yeah. And I would say it's hard to know for sure. I mean, everybody's different. You know, the way I view the sex and relationships is clearly not the same way as Jazz. I'm not capable. I know I'm emotionally not capable of a one night stand. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's just not in me. I'm not able to do something like that.
But you're not alone. I'm about the same path.
Yeah. And do I judge Jazz for it? Absolutely. She's a whore. No. She knows I don't mean that. She's a good person, and
I'm
she's
gonna
married.
punch him.
She's married.
I'm married, but
yeah, just because, and that's what you do when you're single and stuff like that, or if you've got an open relationship, whatever. That's between you and those people involved. Do I give a fuck? Not really. I mean, unless I asked you to call me after, and you didn't call me. I mean, I was supposed to meet your parents. Why didn't you call me back?
How to make Jazzy B disappear in a cloud of hairpins. Yeah, that's the way
there
to
was
do
just
it
a
right
jazz-shaped hole in the door. Wily fucking coyote.
Yep, gone.
But there can be a cultural thing, but given most I think Europe, it might be. It's not. They're more against the violence. I mean, if you need than sex, and if you need a example of that, go to YouTube and look up the English version of the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, because Ninja was too violent. They literally sing the entire intro song without using the word ninja and replace it with heroes.
Yeah.
Right. Yet at the same time, their weather chick will have, F-cup boobs, and there'll not be nothing but a string bikini on her. So it's a trade, I guess. One side is perfectly good with violence and not against sex, and the other side is perfectly good with sex, but doesn't let you have a kitchen knife. So, and then there's Russia.
Oh, don't get me started on Russia. Holy God.
Who will have that's right. Who will have a bottle of vodka in one hand, an AK-47 in the other, and a titty in both. So
this is called freedom, comrade.
That's right. We are very free here. Bitches, come!
Yeah.
That's the greatest part of Triple X is that quote right there. All right. Well, real quick, let's go ahead and go to our call lines and go to the Smiling Sorcerer. How's it going, Smiling?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Smiling.
Every time I come down here, I hit my tailbone. It hurts.
Yeah, well, you know, you have a giant ghetto tail, so
That's true. It does know how to kick from side to side.
that's right.
But,
So what have you got,
Are
Smiling?
you an Argonian? Sorry, I had to ask.
it's okay. Going back to what you guys were saying about how sometimes people take things too seriously and think things become bigger than they should be. And I just realized I said that
That's what
oddly.
she said.
Yeah, I just realized I should have worded that differently. I have no filter, okay?
I
So I
worded
might
that
as well come into the
differently. Yeah.
episode that literally talks about having no filter. Anyway, I've had a lot of experiences where people would come to me, like I said in the chat room, where they would want to be with me in a romantic relationship in-game.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, they start to gain real feelings. And I'll admit I've been a victim of that as well, even if sometimes it doesn't really feel like being a victim. They've taken it extremely far, and I'm very surprised at how people can take it as far as they do.
Mm-hmm.
I've had roleplay partners, who would essentially get so absorbed into the romantic portion of what we were doing that they would offer real life versions.
Yep.
And again, being a guy, I'm not gonna lie.
It's not exactly something you're like, no. Put on my Puritan hat and pump my Bible.
Right,
yeah.
And
I'm only made of flesh and bone.
Right.
Mostly bone.
Oh my god.
Extra
but the
long bone.
The weird part is he stole it from me. I was going to do something like that, but anyway, yeah.
Way to go, ruiner.
That's what I do. That's what I live for.
He and I love each other, so it's cool. No, but it really shocks me that it's like, oh, you did so well in the role play. How about we have a video chat? I'm like, no, I'm going to be a good man, and I'm going to say no.
Right.
And what hurts even more is,
The unsolicited pictures.
well, no, those are okay. I mean,
I agree.
Dun-dun-dun.
everybody has a secret stash, if you know what I mean. But what I'm saying is like, once I would deny that or say no to that,
Mm-hmm.
I would think, oh, no big deal. I just want to be polite, that kind of thing. But because I denied their real advances, I no longer have a coupling in the game. They
Right.
just snap out, poof, like you guys were saying.
It's
And,
they were mixing their emotions. Yeah.
Right, and it's it really is quite not complexing. What the hell? Perplexing. Thank
Perplexing.
you, brain. How sort of much of a mental mind game this sort of thing can play with people.
It is the holy grail of mixing. I'm just saying.
No,
I've seen it. It's not good.
I completely agree. And over the years of my role-playing career and even gaming career, I've had to eventually develop these sets of questions that I would have to ask people first before I get into too deep with them. Like, okay. Different,
No pun intended.
Yeah. Actually, no
Someone
pun
had to
intended.
say it.
I'm glad you guys caught it. No, of course, the guys caught it. Yeah, okay. Makes
The
you
ladies
wonder.
caught it too. We just were more polite.
Hot dog down
See,
the
and
hallway.
therein lies how a lot of these things happen. The guys take more of the initiative and everything, and they get into deeper doo-doo. But no, I've had to ask, okay, can you differentiate between out of character and in character?
Right.
Do you have any preferences about how detailed or risque, in other words, do you want these things? Because I actually have different levels that I would offer depending on people's comfort zones.
Right. Versus the oh baby versus the,
Oh
the
yes,
Harley
you have
Quinn
to ask
novel.
that question because oh my god, if you don't, and you say the wrong thing to the wrong person,
Yep.
and you use the wrong firm for the wrong term for the wrong body part, and all of a sudden,
The wrong what, Jess?
Okay.
Yep.
I just want to sit here and point out everything that everybody said.
the
wrong firm.
Yeah, the
Firm,
Freudian,
yes, very firm, very firm.
The Freudian slips are strong with this episode.
And they sure ain't going away.
But
Nope.
yeah.
But no, you're not wrong. And I think
yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Sure.
How old are you?
30.
30. Okay. So you're about 9 years younger than I am. And
Okay.
I've been doing it since I was in my 20s too. Now, here's my question. Does that happen because when a lot of people start role playing, they're in their early 20s? Some of them now these days are teenagers practically. They're not emotionally developed. They don't know who the fuck they are.
They're not emotionally developed, but they are developing quicker nowadays.
Right,
you know
exactly. Yeah, exactly. All over the place. But so because they don't even know who they are, they don't have they've never had. Some of them haven't even had a serious relationship, or they have. It's a serious relationship, but it's like something out of fucking Twilight where they dated for 2 months and they broke their heart, and the world is ending, and I cut myself in the rain just to hear the tears, or whatever it is.
Well said.
That they just don't know how to handle it. So when somebody comes along with role play and they do that kind of stuff, they just can't separate that. It's new emotions that they haven't had with a person in the real world, and
So
now
they
they're having it online.
Tell it differently.
Right. It's all the same. It's the they've not Jazz, when you did that story you did earlier with Hookup, I mean, how old were you?
Let me think. I would have been like, I had to think. It was a long time ago. I was in my early 20s.
Right. So, but you are also and then here's the other thing. People are very different from one another. Like I barely knew how to talk to a girl when I was I was married.
Actually, no, I was 19.
But I was married at 19. But I still before that I wasn't good with. Ask Sib. I'm completely clueless if a woman's hitting on me. I don't know.
Completely.
You guys are just
clueless.
confusing. I don't get you at all. So
Agreed.
It goes right over my fucking head. And you could be like rubbing up against my crotch, and I'd be like, do you have an itch? Are you okay? Do you need
to pee?
Yeah. But so with a lot of younger role players, that seems to be kind of a factor in it too. The inexperience in how to deal with your emotions, how to separate between, okay, this is a character, not the real life. The guy may not be anything like this. He could just be, he's probably, literally, it's the old joke. He's just some nerd in the basement, given a lot of gamers these days really aren't. They're actually, like myself, clearly, look at the camera, very good-looking people. Right, thank you. You also sounded like a parrot, but that's beside the point.
I can't do a growling noise, so that's all you get.
That's for Jazz. She's not growling at me. Okay, there it is a little bit. It's like being growled at by your sister. It's creepy.
Someone say cougar.
So, yeah, and I get with that, it can get very, very... You guys, we're just all the worst people. Just literally the worst people. But it is very difficult because you thought you were just having a good time, and all of a sudden you're like, so what's your address? Whoa. I'm going to get a plane ticket and come see you.
And I mean, I'll, like I said earlier, I will admit, I have been on that end where I would start role-playing with somebody, and it wasn't just, the good stuff. It was more detailed MRP and stuff like that.
And when you start talking to them out of character and get to know them as a person.
Right, and I eventually liked both sides of them, both the in-character side and the out-of-character side. And I remember a couple of times where I asked, hey, let's talk outside of the game, let's think about meeting up, and I've done that. But it's scary no matter what side you're on.
Yeah, it can be creepy both ways.
And
even if you're clearly a guy,
Yes.
And it does happen.
No, I'm not. Brr. No. Yeah.
Why did you make it deeper to try to prove you're a
I don't
woman?
know. I can't do a girl voice.
I am strong like 10 Russian women.
I can do like 35 different impressions. But
You
I
could
can't
call
do a
me
women's-
Helga.
I can't do a woman's voice.
Oh gosh, no.
But no.
That was
Russian
awesome.
masseuse.
No. Actually, Ash, and what you were talking about with these younger people sort of mistaking these role play feelings for
Actual
legitimate
feelings.
stuff.
Yeah.
I actually have a pretty good example. Before I was taken by my lovely lady over in the corner over there that nobody can clearly see.
Hello, closet
Giving
lady.
him death looks right now.
Yeah, you're right.
Hello.
We all know she lives in. She's in Canada. You don't know her. I get you.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the green card to work, but anyway.
Sure you are.
We're gonna call her Lady Smiling.
Oh yes, she actually almost wanted to do a online collaborative channel with me on YouTube. I'm like, really? But anyway,
You'd be surprised how popular
that's
that
another
is.
story.
She's a keeper.
Yeah, I think so.
That's
But
right.
anyways, so before my current situation, I met this girl or woman, whatever you'd prefer to call them.
Female individual. Go ahead.
Female individual. There you go.
A lady child.
Lady.
Lady
Something
child.
really bad.
On a different game. The game was Rift, and like I said before in other episodes, I play these games to socialize. So I actively look for people to quest with. This woman just happened to come by, and I said, "Hey, you're doing the same quest I am. Let's do it together." Things fast forwarding. We eventually scheduled to do more quests together and play together on various days and so on and so forth. And then we hit it off, just friendly.
Right.
We switched to Skype just because if I'm going to be a partner for somebody, whether it's questing or role play or whatever, I want to get to know who they are so I can know their preferences. So I don't look like a stupid ass or a jerk by accident
Yeah.
if I say the
It's
wrong
a little
thing.
faster than typing too.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that eventually evolves into nightly Skype chats and everything, and things evolved that way. And that was an instance where both of us were feeling the same about each other. But what I didn't know in the beginning before Skype was that while she was legal, she was a young legal.
Okay, gotcha.
And that ended up sort of halting the online stuff, and then it just sort of turned into just like an online long distance dating relationship.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is dirty old man achievement unlocked.
Perhaps. I mean, I was probably like what 21, 22.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 22.
But she was
Stupidly
like
young.
she was 18, 19, so
Yeah.
But I guess word of caution to anybody who's listening or anybody who's currently in these kinds of things: don't be afraid to ask people's ages.
Yeah. Check ID at the door.
I
It's
had
good safety,
to.
good safety note.
Yeah. I had to learn, to ask people that, and I know it's an easy thing to fudge in the back door, but if you get to know the person first and then ask their age later, odds are they're going to tell you the truth, and you'll not be in hot water later.
Yeah.
Yes, it is very important as someone who does MRP.
Mhm.
That's one of the first things that I ask.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have 5 things I ask. You have to go through that. You have to go through a list and
Yep.
just be careful.
And because that's just such an important question, because if they're under a certain age, I will put a stop to it. Even if they're over 18, that's still way too young.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably still in
Yeah,
high
What do you
school at
mean
that point.
too young?
Oh, right. Oh, right.
It's a
oh,
good
right.
idea to
I
have an age
prefer
cap.
that they be at least 20 to 25
Capable
years
of drinking
old.
beer legally.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You've got it, Kishman.
I keep getting older, but they stay the same age. All right,
That's
all right, all
true.
right.
Matthew McConaughey style. I'll
It's
tell
kind
you
of
what.
interesting because when me and Neth started, doing Neth and Raj's relationship RP, I never asked because I already knew because of the forums and intro bios. People have been saying that.
Right.
I put my age on there and she put her age, so I was just like, guess I don't need to ask that.
Yeah. Well, but you still knew, and
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were started that and you're like, oh, I'm 15.
Actually, you make an interesting point pop into my head. There's people who do, erotic role play and mature role play, who have found this website that lets you check off all your sexual fantasies, and people have posted it as a link to their roleplay profiles that some games allow them to do.
Yeah,
and I just think that's a little
much
shocking. It's
much.
like why put that as your first foot forward?
Yeah. Well,
even if all you're after is sex, why
I like
do that?
Autoerotic asphyxiation. I'm gonna put that on my RP profile.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me personally, like, I can only get where I'm going with a toy taxi and a stuffed animal of a moose eating walnuts. But, we all have our own thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I do have a red flag story, kind of like Kishmas's. I was the young guy. I was like 19. We were playing EQ1 back in the day. And I was, I wasn't even a role player then. I was just talking, back and forth to the person I quested with all the time, kind of like Smiling did. And she's like, hey, let's hang out in Kelton. I'm like, sure, let's hang out. And it started amping up, and it started amping up. I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, this ain't the norm. And then finally she said something like, hey, do you want to take it to the next level? I'll give you my phone number. I was like, /quit. Oh, I must have lost connection. What happened there?
But yeah.
And she was a friend of one of the guild leader at that time. She's like, oh, I know I gave her a stern talking to. She never should have done that to you. Da, 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 da. I was like, that was a little creepy, but they're out there.
Oh, yeah, they're out there. All right, well, appreciate you calling in, Smiling.
Hey, anytime. I like talking to you guys.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you either.
Yeah.
Later.
You have a good night, man, and thanks for calling in.
Send them off, Jazz, with a cougar roar.
All right.
Scare me.
Well, before we got a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 or 8 different kinds of progressive ERP things that just get worse. But since I don't want to, once we start that, I kind of want to get all the way through it in a cohesive way. So before we hit that, let's go back to our call line real quick and hit on Mikey. Hey, Mikey.
Mikey!
What's up?
Well, hello there.
You let Mikey back in here?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he's got a great
you guys
name.
have the back
so.
door open, and
Oh, no.
He's coming in the back door.
just so you know, I didn't bring the robe, so
Yeah.
bite the pillow.
Oh,
I'm
my
going
gosh.
to try.
Ouch.
What's this?
Well, appreciate you
Hi,
calling
Gansy.
RPM
How
Radio,
you
Mikey.
doing?
So, what's on your mind?
Well, since we're talking about lessons in this interesting topic, I wanted to bring at it a sort of another viewpoint from that of a guild masters, because obviously certain people tend to have a sort of reputation within the roleplay community.
Yes.
And therefore it becomes very, very dodgy when they apply to your guild. And obviously you would think to yourself, well, each to their own. I don't have a problem with this so long as it doesn't spill out. But at the same time, there's a part of you that says, should I be careful here? What is there to be careful about? What if, for instance, in my situation, they start pulling more and more people to it, and next thing you know, you have a situation where everybody is having sex with everybody, and it's one giant fuckfest, and God help me, I did not know how to navigate
Guild
that
orgy.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Been there. Could have helped you. Sorry. More than once.
Of course you have, Jazz.
It's,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm sorry, Ash.
No, sorry. I was just gonna say that not to. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and go with the pun. It can be a very slippery slope when because you have to be careful with that too, because reputations aren't always built on the truth. Sometimes they're built on people
like me,
right? Petty, small-minded people that just have a grudge. And it's actually not true, and they're pretty decent people that may, like Jess, like to MRP and ERP, but that's not all they do, and they don't screw people over just to do it.
Oh, for sure. It's just one of those things that people gossip about, and it just magnifies with the storytelling from person to person to person.
Telephone, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and then the other time is. It's absolutely true. They're just going to invite all their ERP buddies, fuck up your guild, and then bail the fuck out when you try to tell them to stop and take out the guild with you.
That sounds familiar. Has that happened?
Jazz, I've seen that 3 times. Have you? That seems like a bad episode we saw like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and I'm going to say this with him in the sense that as a guild leader, I was always having to weigh reputation and what I had heard and what other guild leaders had told me, and the fact that everybody deserves a chance. Because what if she's learned her lesson or he's learned his lesson and isn't going to be like that anymore? And so a lot of times I end up giving people the benefit of the doubt, but while everyone else might have 2 or 3 chances, they really only have 1.
Yeah.
And if that flag gets thrown, then we're done. So that's how I've always handled it.
I think that's a very admirable approach. From my experience, I've never seen that work, but I'm glad you still keep to that. It's very.
It doesn't always work.
She's a very optimistic Care Bear kind of person.
It's also worked more often than it's failed. So think of all of our spectacular failures. We also had just as many, if not more, successes where we ended up with people that were great.
And it will depend. Obviously, these things vary, very guild to guild, person to person. Depending on the style of what your guild is, you might attract more of that kind of person as opposed to another. A lot of like the goody two shoe guilds don't probably get a lot of that coming into them because they're like, oh, that's way too restrictive for me.
Not only that, but they'll take it a step further and say no ERP allowed, as if they have a good measure to police that.
Yeah, which obviously you don't.
Well, I mean, they sign up with their F list just to make sure they monitor people, but then end up being hypocrites because they also indulge themselves in that, sort of activity.
Exactly.
And then they also sign up to ESORP.com on a different name and use that as an outlet while gossiping about others. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
It is insidious.
Because it's reviled in some ways, right? The people will go absolutely Victorian era when it comes to gossip about it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to indulging, and I shouldn't use that word, but that's the best word I can think of.
That's what it is. It's indulging.
They no holds bars. They'll act out their fantasies. It's really interesting to see that kind of human behavior.
And I'll also
hypocrisy
say
is alive and well in all forms, in all things.
And I would say that the people who protest the most about ERP, who say ERP is wrong, ERP is bad, we don't condone it, don't do it, are doing it secretly on the side 99% of the time. So whenever I have somebody tell me absolutely positively not, I usually, unfortunately, just assume that they're doing it and they don't want competition. So I stay away from guilds that say that.
And the other factor is what we were talking with Smiling. It's the way they were raised. You're raised Catholic, so what are you already ashamed of, kind of a thing. So you enjoy it, you have fun. It's actually probably innocent for the most part, but you feel guilty about it. And if somebody accuses you of that, your instinct is to deny, and vehemently get angry and deny it. Even though you're doing it, you're not able to be honest with yourself, which is that maturity thing. You know, you just. The more you go, you don't want to be associated with that, even though you enjoy doing that.
And I will say that and I can say this in every single solitary situation, and I can say, with my in EQ, Guild Wars 2, AOC, everything. every single solitary time I have ever been in a guild with someone or around someone who claims that they don't ERP and makes a point of saying how ERP is bad and no one should ERP, it's disgusting, they are always doing it secretly. And it eventually comes out. And then I just sit there and kind of smirk and say, I knew it. Should have put money on that.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
I would have been a lot better if I had. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't understand the psychology behind that. I know that it's almost exactly true.
Yeah,
I think it goes like you said. They don't want the competition, Jazz.
Yeah, I do think a lot of time, or like Ashton said, they've been raised to believe that it's bad. They still do it, but they don't want anyone to know that
they're
they do
embarrassed. It's embarrassment,
and they'll make the people that they ERP with swear on a stack that they're not doing it. If anyone ever asks you, you will not tell them that you have ERP'd me. I will deny it. I will call you a liar. Never tell
anyone.
anyone.
And I will ruin you.
Yes,
that's weird.
But I've met at least a dozen RPers that are like that.
And I'm
but
not
yet
surprised.
they're actively ERPing or MRPing, however you want to look at it. But they'll make their lovers, the players of their lovers, swear on a stack of Bibles that they're not actually,
which is
and
ironic.
they will deny it.
Well, playing from an devil's advocate standpoint, there maybe in the past they've been burned by somebody like that, right?
I mean, I was, but I'm a happy whore. I don't care. So,
but
when they came at me with that nonsense, because they blacklisted me for a lot of things.
Yeah.
The one thing that they blacklisted me for that really just made me laugh at them was they said, and she engages in ERP, and I'm like, oh no, where are my pearls to clutch? Go away.
No, I mean, it's more like, God forbid, like I would never wish this upon, the worst of the worst are role players, but God forbid they get into it and then screenshots of that are leaked out by some malicious party.
Yeah.
We've had that happen.
Which is something you need to always be prepared. You never put anything out there that you're not willing to have get out there. Because remember,
I had somebody sneak into my house.
The internet, like diamonds, are forever.
There was Jazz, I'm actually probably going to tell the same story you're going to tell.
Yep. Go
there
ahead.
Was a time,
money.
And Jazz's rule back in the day was nothing shady can go down the guild hall because of that very deal. Well, we're role playing, and she keeps trying to break down my character as well, and she keeps trying to break it down as well. And she finally broke down as well, and they were making out. Someone ran in, took a screenshot, ran out, and then it showed up on EQ2 Flames. And I was like, are you freaking serious? These people got nothing better to do than troll around. But it happens. Don't put it out there unless you're willing to
actually, it was a slightly different. I was in a house, my own personal house, and I was ERPing with someone, or MRPing. And I had forgotten, because for those that don't know EQ, when you could sell things in your house, you put down this wardrobe, and it basically was for sales, and so people could come into your house and buy directly from you,
and then you didn't have to pay the 10 or 15% tax on it.
You didn't have to pay the tax on it. Well, I had forgotten that it was on the floor. So this guy came in to buy something and started overhearing it and took snapshots of it and then gave us a standing ovation as he was leaving. He was so impressed with what he had overheard. Told me I ought to be a porn star. I said, thank you. And he's like, you're not pissed? I'm like, nah. If you had fun, dude, I guess I'm doing a good job.
Yeah, that's funny.
And it never showed up on EQ Flames.
Yeah.
So it was just funny. But when you're doing something, I've always been of the opinion, if you're going to have sex outside in a cemetery, be prepared for you to have a picture taken.
And that's the thing. And what I was speaking about was, and we're going to get into it later in the topics, but there are malicious people that take it way too far and look for reasons to attack you with it. It's crazy.
Usually it's out of jealousy.
Yeah, maybe.
They don't know. I was gonna say is there's really, I mean, we could probably spend an entire show going over the various ifs, ands, or buts about different types of people and why motivations and things like that. Pick one, throw a dartboard.
Yeah.
So any one and all have applied at one point or another. But it's, when it comes to that, it is each individual, going back to what you're saying, Mikey, individual guild leaders' threshold of bullshit that they're willing to put up with. Jazz does it her way, and it works for her because she's willing to do
I'm
that.
blunt and honest,
right, and
that
she's
works
willing
for
to
me.
put up with it if it goes wrong. If you're not willing to do that, then then that guild leader needs to just be like, listen, I'm sorry, maybe this just isn't the guild for you, and you can tell them, tell them to move on. And there's nothing, and is there something wrong with that? Maybe,
Nope.
but you know what? It doesn't matter because
No, I don't think so.
Well, that's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
that-
It's
yeah,
your
it's
guild.
your guild.
You get to decide.
You get to set the rules, and you get to set the level of bullshit you can put up with.
And you get
And
to
if
let people
you-
come in.
Yeah, and if you want to lay a line and say no ERP and I can't figure out, fine. Because if you put it out there in the open and somebody breaks your rules, then they're out. It's that simple.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, I would agree with that sort of leadership, but at the same time, you're not a tyrannical ruler. I thought
Well,
I
no.
always think that
Right,
the
exactly.
best-
I think it's a bad place to be because, frankly, I have better shit to do than police what people are doing in a tell
right.
between two people. I don't care, first of all, but it's not my job and I have more to do. And even when I was Vodka and I was running Silver Circle with an iron fist, I never bothered with that nonsense. I had enough to do.
Right. My
So,
point being is
that's
that it's that while I don't think necessarily that all the rules are being set down by the guild leader. Absolutely. I'm saying that I think that part of it also comes from the very climate within the guild as well.
Yes,
Otherwise,
that's
you're just
true.
going to get dissent within the ranks, and that's another topic for another day.
Yeah,
which
and
is,
guild climate would play a lot
Yes.
into that. But it is and like if you're going to be tyrannical about it, it's not going to get you anywhere. You're not going to have. I mean, most of those people that tried to rule with the OOC Iron Fist, their guild never goes anywhere. It's just not possible.
No.
People
I
aren't.
think the benevolent
often willing.
dictator model usually works.
That one
That's-
works a lot more than the iron fisted, lunatic. Yeah.
Just be Mama Jazz. It works better and it's less stressful.
Mama Jazz with a cougar roar.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
Yay, go girl! You did it!
You gotta watch out when the puma teams up with the freaking cougar. Yeah.
All right. Well, you have anything else before I let you go, Mikey?
No, I'm just going to get out of here before the puma and the cougar.
Yeah,
pounce
you're
on
going
me.
to get mauled.
They won't get you.
See you
Yeah.
later.
Last thing we want to do is to have two satisfied pussies in here. Anyway.
That's right.
Bye bye.
Oh!
That was a great outro.
That was fantastic.
Mikey,
love
I
that.
bow to thee, sir.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was good. That was good.
That was
All
so
right.
good.
Well, I appreciate Smiley Sorcerer and Mikey calling in. Thank you,
Yes,
guys.
thank you both.
So moving on, let's go down the list of the different kinds of people that may only ERP. Now, again, ERP, not just, this is largely for that. This does have some crossover with MRP, but mostly we're talking about just the, guys. So first off,
How
we
is
have...
that again? How is that?
Well,
Dang.
oh, baby, oh, baby, oh, baby. So,
Oh, baby. Oh, yes.
Oh, I see what you
Spit
did
more.
there.
Oh,
Good job.
I'll have what she's having.
I love that scene, man. That was fantastic.
So the first one we have is, and we're going to go down this list. It goes from basically the most harmless to the worst.
So run.
The first one is the bored. People that just do it because nothing else is going on and the opportunity came up, and why not?
That's fair.
There's just,
Yeah.
that's just all there is, they like it. It's fun. They had nothing else going on at the moment. No raids were happening. Nothing else was going on. Oh, look, hey, that's a hot computer graphic. Let's bang. The end.
Pit souls.
That was terrifying. Second,
It's the
is-
Commander Shepard meme from Gamer Poop saying, "Hey, report the ship. We'll bang, okay?"
Bingo. The other kind is the second one is the lonely. Either they're bad at social interactions in real life, they've had bad luck with relationships in real life, whatever the reason, they're lonely and they use the ERP as kind of an outlet. The problem with this one is often the loner can turn later down the list into the mixer. So moving on to the third one is the clueless Milady Neckbeard.
Milady.
milady. These are the ones that kind of think they're God's gift to women, always saying how beautiful their character is,
Oh, God.
constantly hitting on them. Even when they're told repeatedly, there's a better chance of their penis pump actually giving them that full 3 inches they've been hoping for than your character ever falling for them. They are a little creepy. Honestly, they are mostly harmless. They're like incel. This incels would kind of come into this thing, I think, at times. Not all of them, but incels are a really creepy group of guys. They're mostly harmless. They let you know OOC how amazing your character looks, and couldn't buy you a clue if it was came in a box made by Hasbro.
That's truth.
Yeah. So these guys, the incel kind of neckbeardy clueless guys, they're literally the tip the fedora milady guy. I mean, they think women want to.
They think they're good guys.
Right.
But the minute that you turn them down,
right,
you're just a bitch who doesn't appreciate them.
Why don't the bitches like a good guy? They're all always going after the bad guys when here the good guys are sitting on the sideline. Well, for one, good guy, probably don't call them bitches. It's a good start.
Good guy.
Might be a good start, yeah.
Good start. And also, too,
What do you mean?
talk to them, maybe. They probably don't even know you exist because you haven't said anything to them. There's literally, I've seen these, I'm a chiver. I like going to the chive. And every now and then they have this is the bullshit on Facebook when people are called out on their stupidity. And one of them literally was one of those incel guys like, I can't believe bitches they always go after the bad guy and blah, blah, blah. And then like the next comment is somebody that knows them is like, if you're talking about Jennifer, one, she doesn't know you exist because you've never talked to her, and handing her a pencil does not qualify as a relationship.
Oh,
That's mean.
It's probably
awesome,
true,
though.
though.
But it's probably very true.
Right.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, I'm tired of you always saying this crap when she's a good person and you don't even know who she is. You're just obsessed with her, you lunatic. Like I said, when it comes to that kind of stuff, they for the most part, they're actually they're harmless. I mean, they mean well. They think talking in Old English and, the fedora and milady stuff, and that women want to constantly be told how good looking they are, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, some women do like that, but not every time you log in.
It doesn't work very well.
No.
In modern day, I'm just saying, if you do that to Ren Fair, that's fine. Especially if you're dressed up, but don't be doing that to someone you know is not a gamer. You have no idea from him and Adam.
Right. And especially if they've got tight pants that say juicy on the butt, probably not going to appreciate it.
No, they're going to be like, say what? It's going to be ridiculous.
What the hell is wrong with you?
What'd you say? I'm
What
about to knock your head off. Something ridiculous.
I don't know why you're channeling what you're talking about, Willis guy, but okay. My lady, what you talking about, Willis? Or Willie, if she's interested.
I mean, it's just I'm just reacting because
I know you are.
That stuff is really weird in modern time. I'm just saying.
Yeah, even in a Ren Fair, it's like I get the joke.
I mean, there are nerd girls out there.
Oh yeah, that absolutely would probably love it.
I've been to Ren Fairs where I had girls jump out of the booth they were working at and start speaking fluent Elvish to me because I was dressed up like Legolas, and I was like, yeah, you're cute.
You too.
I have no idea what you said. Walking away now.
So all right. The next one, and this is, like I said, getting progressively worse. This is where it starts to get from, innocent fun and kind of creepy to, shit, there's something wrong, is the mixer. Someone that can't emotionally separate the in-character emotions of the character from the out-of-character emotions of the person behind the character. And they start to think their feelings are real. They start getting really clingy, aggressive, and even possessive. Strafe?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you talking to that person? I just logged in. Why are you role-playing with somebody already?
Yeah, boy, that sounds familiar.
I'm here right now. You need to leave them and come talk to me. What do you mean you're not going to leave them, then you're in the middle of something? This is just what I would expect from you. I thought we were friends.
Flashbacks. Stop it. Make it stop.
Poor Stray.
How accurate was that?
Very.
That was 100% freaking accurate.
Yeah, and that is where it starts.
And it only gets worse from there.
Yeah, and given mixers are not just an ERP emotional thing. Mixers happen in all sorts of, they happen in role play all over the place.
But they follow the same damn script. It is amazing to me that particularly people involved in ERP/MRP who want your attention, they all follow that same script. Why are you talking to that person? Why aren't you talking to me? What are you doing? What are you doing in there? Are you ERPing? Who are you ERPing with? I want to know, because I thought we had something special. Yeah, and they follow the same script. So if you've had this conversation with someone, you need to be aware that it's badness.
Red flags.
And you need to get away.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying ordeal, and they will eat their own friends if you're talking to them.
Yes.
In
Oh, yeah, it won't matter who it is.
And they will blow up your text like, why don't you ever dance with me like that? Da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, are you freaking serious?
Yeah.
I'm like, what is wrong with you? I was like, this is freaking role play.
And just because you have two people that are friends on your list and they're in the same room doesn't mean they're ERPing.
Yeah.
Nope.
They can be having a conversation. If I thought that, I would be super pissed off at Sib and Strafe all the time. Because they're always off right now because their characters are together. And I can see over her shoulder. They're just sitting there talking about mundane shit, like spells or magic or some, whatever it is. It's not like...
Oh, God.
Trust me, if
they're
if
not
it was,
Zoidberging on each other. How's that?
If it was, I would not be RPing with him.
I would also know because she'd be super red.
Well, it's just I don't RP like that. I'm more in it for the story. I enjoy the story of it.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of fun just sitting around having, like you said, mundane conversations about how our characters.
Do we need to turn this left or right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Over a bowl of stew, no less. Like I said,
it's
what we did in roleplay this week.
MRP. Yeah, it's just mature conversations between two adults that, can it lead to something else? Yeah, maybe. But
another good case in point of that is 90% of the time that my twin was hanging out with Jazz's and EQ2.
Oh yeah,
we were either at her house or Ren's place. They were talking about who knows what. The whole guild thought they were doing the ugly.
Same thing.
And and they would constantly run in trying to catch us. And we're sitting there having tea, looking at them like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, they did that with Xanis and I all the time.
Yeah.
When Xanis and Vodka would just be sitting there talking, and we had some amazing RP where he was trying to get Vodka to not hate herself quite so much, and so a lot of it was he was not just her husband; he was practically her shrink.
He was just a more stable person than she was.
Yeah, and so they would have these really long conversations, and people would burst in. And we just kind of stopped.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. It's like mid-sip. Huh?
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
just couldn't
you did
grasp.
interrupt the conversation, but what?
And I've had people, like the person that Strafe is talking about, would also send me tells. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
Thank you, Kinksy. For 1,000 bits, I will promise not to do the Zoidberg slurp again. For the rest of this episode.
But yeah, that's happened to me a lot. Like, I get whispers like, "Are you guys erping?" And it's like, no. And as soon as people started teleporting into the house, I started locking the door because I'm tired of people just interrupting. And it's not even just because of that. It's just because I don't like people. If someone wants to RP with me in the Raj's house, you better whisper. If you don't whisper, fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, because, I mean, and again, you guys, your characters are together. You've both been friends for a long time. Even if you are, what fucking does it matter? What does it matter to them?
I mean, hell, half the time we were sitting in the room, we would both be sitting on the bed, and he'd be jumping up and down going, "Oh, baby, give me more. But we laugh. I mean, we weren't ERPing because it wasn't his thing.
Yeah.
But, we had to kill 2 hours, so we would talk about stuff. And it was always hilarious for me. I enjoyed those conversations as much as the role play. So it was always a lot of fun. But people always assumed, and they still do now, people will see me in my house by myself, and they'll be like, Am I interrupting anything if I come over?
Yeah, or
no,
it'll
literally, I'm standing here staring at the wall while I'm doing other things at
well,
my
I'm
desk.
looking at in my second monitor or whatever, and
Yeah.
or it's alt tabbed out or something.
There's nobody here.
I mean, even when Jazz was in her tower in the guild hall and Ren was her freaking guard, he had to stand there. She's taking a bath or just chatting. People would lurk up. Hey,
yeah.
I'm not interrupting anything, am I? And Ren just give him the death look, like, no, but I can kill you where you sit if you don't come in here announced. The boss wouldn't let you do that. What are y'all doing in there? Yeah, it's freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, she'd be literally. I would be role playing taking a bath. Now, granted, she was doing it to torture him, but nevertheless, it was all just role play, and they weren't interrupting anything. But they would sneak in and try to catch us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We could not literally. I mean, and that's why I've told people this before. When I've role played my characters, because I've played a guild leader for a long time, you really don't get a whole lot of time to ERP, by the way, because they're always interrupting you. I mean, seriously, Xanis, how many times were we actually
trying to have a real conversation about something really important to both our characters, and how many times would we have to put it off? I could not count on fingers and toes.
Because something would happen, or somebody got kidnapped, or this or that would happen, and we would have to go deal with it. And it was always really funny to me because people assumed that I had all this stuff going on. And it's like, dude, you know what I do? I go wherever you people call me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. So,
all right. Well, before we go down into the really dark depths, let's go ahead and go real quick to Yunfei, our moderator. How's it going, Uni?
Hi. So real quick about the whole two characters being in a house together automatically means they're yep. So Yunfei's first little boyfriend there, that dark-haired Fae.
Mm-hmm.
I forget his name, but yeah,
he was absolutely convinced whenever he saw Yunfei and Xanis in a house together that we were cybering.
Oh yeah.
Wait, what?
Wait,
you do realize that's her dad, right?
Yeah, it's like literally He was always playing the father figure.
To be fair, let's
and
talk
it wasn't
about some
that
of these people.
Kind of kink.
Yeah. I mean, come on. When you hear two people say they are siblings, what do you think? What do you think? Come on.
I think, they're siblings.
Yeah.
Well, no. A lot of times that's not the case. And I've gotten kind of
not from
incestuous
Arkansas.
siblings.
Yes.
I don't know, dude. My brain is very vanilla.
Yeah, I don't.
So I'm very boring.
I see it so much at this point. It's like.
See, and I still don't. That's definitely for me. Like that's not the first place I go. But I don't have. That's because it's related and it's gross.
Well, I agree.
And that's how you get cross-eyed babies.
Cross-eyed babies.
And sloth.
Sloth.
And ugly babies. Yeah.
Hey, you guys! Exactly. You don't want... I mean, Sloth was a good guy. He saved the Goonies, but you don't want to try to make a sloth.
No.
Yeah.
I just wanted to pop in and
see it, and I never even thought of that because it was their relationship really was like it was always father-daughter. There was never there wasn't any.
Well, they had the same reaction to Toyana and Xanis.
Yeah,
people just didn't grasp that. Yeah, sometimes a cigar is really a cigar. Stop it.
Yeah, and
on your point about the siblings, Jazz, if I made another character with that person in question, they would make another tune to come chase down my character.
I know.
Yep. Ren's son, Renault, the really unstable one.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what his little sister kept trying to do to him? Because crazy. Yeah,
Gross.
man, it's out there.
I want to make a comment on being in the same place. I know, like, if me and Straffe are RPing our characters at one of his places, I can't tell you how many times somebody's been like, "What are you guys doing?" And I'm like, "Well, come on over and RP with us." I do. I'm like, because we're not doing anything bad. That's what I'm like, just come on over. We're just RPing, hanging out.
Thing. Even if you are, it's still not bad. It's not that big a deal. It really
no,
isn't.
It's not.
But
believe it or not, there's
thing,
somebody probably around you right now where you live doing it.
Yeah, I know, right?
I just always invite people over. If somebody's like, "What's going on?" I'm always like, "Come on over and RP with us."
Yeah.
because I'm all about the RP. I just
That's the
enjoy
point. Yeah.
the stories, the getting to know people. That's the lore. That's the fun part to me.
Yeah, and I'm
Half
the
the
same way.
time,
I always
even
like the mature stuff.
I mean, half the time when Bully cozies up to Trask, she's like, "Tell me a story.
Yeah.
Now tell me this." Rubs
She
his hair a little
has-
more. Now tell me more. And Trask's like, "She's an evil interrogator. That's what this is."
Yeah, because he likes to learn things. So, and he's older, so he knows a lot of. And the Shafay actually knows a lot about ESO, so it's kind of fun to just sit and pick his brain about different topics in the game because he does know so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's and I'm glad you actually brought that point up, Uni, because I honestly it never even crossed my mind. Same thing with Toyana Jazz.
Well, I tell people that's gross, guys.
Yeah, when I play a
like
a fatherly character, I'm not. I don't have an ulterior motive to like. Oh, I want to bang my stepdaughter. It's like that's just
it's creepy.
Especially now, I have a stepdaughter. There is no fucking way that would ever happen in the history of ever. I would probably put a gun in my mouth before something like that would happen. And
in the history of ever,
seriously,
I love that
that's
line.
just nasty. It's
and I would get tells.
Yeah, I'm not going to Woody Allen it. Thank you, Gangsy girl.
Yeah, Woody Allen. That's a good way to put it.
Very good.
Oh gosh.
And that was different than the other sound, so I get to get that one. But yeah, that's Uni.
Gangsy girl awful. For the win on that one.
But yeah, appreciate you bringing that one up and making me want to throw up in my mouth just a little bit.
Yeah, I'd share the love.
share the throat vomit.
Misery loves company.
That's right. All right. Well, appreciate you calling in, Uni, and good job on approving all the crazy words in the chat tonight.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, you're having a good time with that. I'll talk at you later, Uni.
All right, see ya.
Bye. All
Love
right.
it, Uni. Bye.
Again, if you got something you want to say, feel free. rpmradio.com/Discord. Join our Discord server. You are more than welcome. So, moving on, going from Mixer. The next one in... I'm going to go ahead and go with Controller. Controller, this is the one where part of the Mixer, they use it in a way to control the people around them, often having qualities of the Mixer, but they use the ERP, the sex part of it at least, as a way of keeping people around them in line to do what they want.
Yep.
Pussy whipped is also the term. This one, more often than not, is actually, in my experience, women more than men. And guys, seriously, falling for this, it's pathetic. You aren't even getting any real action.
Very young men.
Yeah.
Case in point, the person who shall not be named that we described in the last segment had a following, a whole entourage of this kind of thing, and they hated my guts because the person in question was always after my tune. And I'm like, I don't get it, man. You guys go roleplay somewhere else. You're moping around, waiting for like 5 minutes of the time of day.
Yeah, waiting hours.
It's creepy.
Just to get a
hours.
couple minutes. Yeah, staying logged in and doing nothing, just waiting. Yeah, and
she loves me.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, the controllers there's quite a few of
them. There's a lot of them.
But I mean, again, there's this is a real life thing too, and in roleplay it definitely happens more with women. Seem to do this way more than men, but there are men that do it as well.
Yes, there are.
Because there's also just like there's a lot of really lonely, sad men that they just can't help themselves. It's the same thing for women. It's just women definitely seem to understand the power they have over this more than a man does. And
these are often women who have
don't
no
fall
power.
For it. Yeah.
Often the women that do this do not have power in their real life. So they're seeking power in game and they probably are not overly attractive in real life. And they feel more attractive because of what they do in game with these young men who are easily manipulated because they're lonely and young and dumb and full of
They're
cum.
thinking with their little head, not their big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're enjoying the attention. They're enjoying the sex. Yeah.
The big
sex
head.
with their hand. But
typing with one hand and
the big head has not overpowered the little head in that situation.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
and if they're manipulating you or telling you that you can't ever get anybody but them, or insisting that all your tunes belong to them, but they don't have to follow that rule, that's all symptoms of the controller. If they're trying to control you, sending you tells if you're peeing with someone else,
yeah,
or if you're in your own world, you're not even in game, and they're sending you a tell. Why aren't you in game?
yeah, I logged in. Where are you at? You said you would be here. Well,
You're not here.
I'm sorry, my Aunt Bertha died and she's in the hospital. Okay.
Well, you can't fix that. Why aren't you in here?
Yeah, exactly.
I need attention.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. They say these things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh no,
this whole episode is like a terrible nightmare.
He's having flashbacks.
Make it stop.
There are men that do this, but I do agree with you. I think that the women far outnumber the men, and a great deal of the male tunes that do this are actually women. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know why, because that is not reflected in real life. In real life, it's usually males. So I don't get why it slips in game.
I think
psychologists have discussed it. There was actually a really good paper on this particular phenomenon.
I wonder if it could be that incel thing, because a lot of the guys that, especially if you self-proclaim as an incel, please don't. You've already gone down a rabbit hole you will never recover from. But they're adamant, and they're getting the attention they wanted.
Right.
I
don't know if it's that, or if it's that because women don't have the power in real life, and they get in here and there's less women than men in this particular
that gap is closing.
Although it is closing, but a lot more women than men. So it's getting a great deal harder to tell.
Jazz, the gap is closing.
What?
The gap is closing.
Closing so hard.
Oh, Lord. Really?
Anyway, carry on.
Anyway.
Hey, you're the dirty one. I thought you'd appreciate that.
Nope, didn't went right over my head. I was talking about psychology, so I was thinking.
I'll tell you what, it went right over that head, just right pretty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Smiley Sorcerer, I know you only type with one hand, but I think you do that for an entirely different reason. That the palsy might be a reason for that. If you type with only one hand, the other hand's not doing anything but flipping people off.
Now, one of my very good friends named Zot used to role play with us, and he used to call it sticky finger role play or sticky finger pogo.
Red River brain parasites. I'll never forget.
He was
that
awesome
crap.
with that too. But that was a role play thing. But he used to call it sticky pogo or sticky finger role play.
You got the sticky pogo from me, darling.
Was that you?
Yes, me. I started mocking people one time.
Oh, okay. Well, he used to call it sticky. That much I remember. They would type
because I said,
yeah.
Someone said, I wonder what they're doing. I just looked over in OC chat, and it was officer chat. It's like, they're over there playing sticky pogo, bro. What do you think they're doing?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And then Jazz lost her mind. It
was hilarious. I was like, there has never been a more accurate phrase used. That was awesome.
And Jazz, you'd hate where that phrase came from. It came from my PvP troll days of killing role players.
There's a shock. All right, so going from the controller moves on to kind of, it's a subset. It's the collector. This is the next step up from controller, because they still do the controlling thing. Think of this as this is the Super Saiyan of controllers. Yes. The collector.
Boy, howdy. This is the person that says all of your tunes are mine, and I can have anyone I want, and does.
And it's not just one person. It's often a cult of personality raises around them, and that cult will defend them to the death. You are fucking Helena of Troy, and everyone else around you is Troy. So until what always is going to happen in the end, you're eventually discarded for the new, shinier object or the upgraded model. Maybe it's a few weeks, maybe it's a few years, but given time, if somebody is openly just clearly collecting it and it's visible to everyone outside of their little group, it's always going to end in tears.
And they will eventually turn on each other.
Yes, they do.
It never fails.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and then they'll forgive each other and get back together again, by the way.
You'd have no idea why that went on about like that.
This is like a whole episode on this one person in question.
It is. Well, and where a lot of these come from is is we've met these people. We've either seen them peripherally, we've had them in the guild, and over the length of time, Silver Circle alone was a 10-year-long guild.
Yeah.
But it's not the only game. It's not the...
No, and I've talked with other guild leaders who would agree with one of these, that there's, that all collectors are controllers.
Yeah.
But not all controllers are collectors.
Yeah, some of the controllers, they'll stick to one person, and that's why the collector upgrades from that, because they're doing that with multiple people, which is why when we were saying, like, they'll wait around, like, for an hour and a half to just for some FaceTime with the person they're waiting for while they're with somebody else. That's a collector. They've controlled them, but they're also collected a half dozen people or more. Before we go on to the big one, the granddaddy of all of them, which kind of combines the whole thing into one, let's go back to our phone line real quick and talk to Ericus. Thanks for calling RPM Radio, Ericus.
It's an Ericus.
First off, I'd like to make a reservation for Hot Jessica's STDs.
Well, she's got dozens of STDs across the country.
A location near you.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, you got my Canadian dollar on that, but
that's right. So what you got, Ericus?
All right, this is actually quite many years ago, back in my horny teen years, or young adult years, for that matter.
So that was a year ago, right? I'm kidding, bro. Go ahead.
Yes, make fun of my youth all you like, but
you're gonna die, old man.
Oh no.
It was back at Star Wars: The Old Republic there when I first started to roleplay, and one side of the Star Wars fleet, you have all the ERP side, the guilds patching out and everything like that. So it's like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Try all the different forms of ERP. Maybe I'll like it. So I went with this other woman. Of course, in game currency, which was credits. Went in and paid for that there. Back to the ship, the business, and you know what? They were actually very professional. This guild she was in, starting out into the game there, and they were trying to make a brothel-themed guild. And I was like, won't be interested. Wow, I've been fine this couple of weeks doing this over and over, so an all ERP guild, what could go wrong? So,
famous last words.
Yes. Like, we can't end it badly, right? So I went and created an alt. Nice human, open trench coat, bare chest. I was the bodyguard / bouncer / whatever, make sure everything was all right. And the stronghold, that was the name of the stronghold.
What you were saying is you're coming with the pizza and the sunglasses.
My character did wear sunglasses, funny fact. But,
told you.
But no, there's no pizza involved. And actually, a couple days in, it was just, no, this is not what I wanted. Where's the plot? Where's character development? Where do they all go? I'm just standing here doing nothing. One character comes by working for the thing. Hey, well, fine, interaction. You want, okay, you're going down and undoing the pants. Oh, okay, never mind.
Ding dong. Who is it?
All right.
Pizza boy.
They just... Right. It wasn't that well, but yeah. So my lesson from that there is be careful what you wish for. You're thinking an all ERP guild could be just all, all your desires, but in the end, roleplay is just, it's not the same. It's not the same.
And there is a difference. I know I'm not going to name them, but somebody did say that they actually run what they called an ERP guild. I wonder if they're listening to this. I'd love to hear back from them after this and see if they actually mean they run a very mature MRP guild that does that stuff and not just what you ran into, which would be legitimately just a flat out ERP guild. No development, nothing changes it. It's always, the only plot development is what brings the two people together. Is it a hydro spanner? Is it a delivery of porgs on a stick? Whatever it is, the stick is going to get most of the use.
Sadly true. I didn't stick around long enough to find that out. So,
well, your first mistake was going to the fleet.
Yeah.
I played that game too. No, I'm sure there's plenty of two nice people and still that roleplay on the fleet.
Not really.
I'm maybe somewhere. I mean, there's got to be new people that log in and don't know what they're getting into. I mean, they gotta be
that's
nice.
true.
You know, it's still a pretty popular game. But yeah, that's if you're gonna join an ERP guild. I know what was Sib. You had joined that one, and it's like, oh nope, this is this is just an ERP guild. This is not what I was. This isn't what I was told it was. And nope. No.
So much nope.
Yeah,
Yes.
crate full of nope.
Nope the fuck on out. So let's see. Oh, yep. And somebody else. Somebody triggered the bot.
Uh-oh.
Ringtone
That is a relentless R3 unit, man. I tell you what.
It is. Yeah, it's nothing but the best around here. But appreciate you calling in, Ericus. You got anything else before we let you go?
Nope. Just throwing out that lesson there. When you join the Europe Guild, get all the information first. Like, don't jump right in, make it all, and just have the time of your life there. Know what you're getting into. Make sure the Europe's right for you, but make sure to actually roleplay standings within the guild at the end of the day. Just good to have fun now and then, but in the end.
And if you pick up any lightsabers, make sure they don't vibrate first.
This ERP is right for you.
Yeah.
I like how you said that.
This ERP's for you.
Side effects may include.
We don't want to know.
No.
We don't
Whatever you do, don't touch any of the surfaces. They've not been washed in a while.
Oh, no.
All right, Ericus. Well, appreciate you calling RPM Radio, man, and I hope you have a good night. Thanks for listening.
Yes, later.
So, all right. Now, going to the last one here on our list. And this one's the big one. This is the Lunatic. These are a special breed of ERP loco. These would be the Super Saiyan God, First Vampire, Werewolf King, Prismatic Dragon, Emperor Palpatine of ERP. They are everything that came before this, all rolled into one very special creation. They'll use the satellites against you, blow up monuments and capitals of every major city in the country on Earth if it gets to you and it makes you do what they want. Or, if you've scorned them, pay you back for the quote-unquote betrayal of realizing their true self. They'll contact your place of business. They'll interfere with your real life. Jazz, they'll create websites against you and your guild with giant gaping butthole pictures. And, at the worst, threaten to hurt themselves. You name it, and they will use it against you to make you do what they want and get back at you for whatever made-up bullshit they have in their head.
And my special super duper lunatic started off as a controller. So they usually start off in one of those ways, and then they kind of fall into complete lunacy. Because when I first met this person, and we all met him,
wouldn't have guessed that the outcome when I met him.
I don't think anybody. He was a solid role player. I don't think anybody thought he was as crazy as he turned out to be. So I felt like I was just over dramatizing what was happening. And it wasn't until it was over that I realized when it went south.
Right.
I could point right to the moment. I know exactly going south. Exactly. I can point to it.
Well, you want to share that so that people might be able to clue in a little in case that, again, and this one here is very rare. It doesn't happen a lot. This one, like I said, it's a special breed of crazy. It takes a mixer. It's a controller. Sometimes they'll be the collector. They're the miladies. It's all of it, all rolled into one, and then
when he
amplified.
said if my character did not change what she was doing, he would kill himself.
OOC.
Yeah. And I was very close to him. I cared about him. And it was a very terrifying moment because I was afraid he was going to do it. And so I backed off and I changed my character. I broke up with the person that she was seeing. I changed her character. I changed her story and I altered it. And everybody told me I was.
You were what?
I was making a mistake.
Oh, okay. You cut out there.
Sorry.
Okay.
Everybody. And it was very emotionally wrought for me. And it wasn't until after everything went south, because it was a good 6 months.
Because that was
prior.
because that's just the first step on,
Right.
that's where you said.
And
you
once I
noticed
did
it,
that, he had me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just went bad. It went real bad, folks. I mean, every single solitary thing I did that he rate me, and I cared about him
behind the scenes, up in the guild chat, even both at the same time.
And my husband kept his mouth shut for a while, and then he just had it, and eventually he got kicked out of the guild because my husband booted him, not me.
Mm-hmm.
My husband like, yep, you're done. Boom!
And it wasn't until that's when you started to, and were you happy with him for doing that?
No, he and I had a knockdown, drag out fight about it.
But you know what?
I'm tired of this man treating you like this, and it's going to stop today. You're done.
I was gonna say 10 Trolls had the right move, man.
Oh yeah, no, he was furious and
scorched earth.
But the moment that he lost control of me is when he went ugly.
Yeah, when Triton, stood up for you and was like, "All right, you can't see this. You're too close to it. It's done." I make executive husband decision, which is not something for those of you guys that you probably. I mean, obviously he's not on the show, and we've only talked about him. Jay, her husband, he's not a guy that does anything quickly or irrationally. He is a very slow,
a stalwart.
He's
solid,
thinking man. He takes he's very. He's one of those old school cowboy guys that they don't fly off the handle. But if you piss them off, you better watch that fucking gun hand, because you're not going to see the bullet coming for you.
No, he was done. He was the one that booted another one that I had a problem with. He was usually the person that when he realized that we were done.
Mm-hmm. And because of that, that's when that's when Pandora was released.
Right.
From the
then the
box.
lunatic was born, and I realized exactly the kind of person, and it was ugly. So spare yourself finding out about the lunatic, because they don't start out the lunatic, folks. They start out
Your
mixer.
Friend.
They start out they're a friend that is a mixer or a controller or a collector. They start out that way, and then it snowballs so fast. I mean, I don't think anybody saw it coming when he really lost his, because nobody knew the backstage stuff. They didn't. All they knew is I changed my character because he asked me.
Yeah.
Nobody understood. Nobody knew about the suicide thing. My husband didn't even know. I didn't even tell my husband. I didn't tell anybody about that day until it was over.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband was like, "You should have told me." And he was right. He had every right to be angry. He was like, "You should have told me when he did this. This was not okay, and you shouldn't have kept it in."
Yeah, like we say, we the advice we give to you, we've learned through mistakes more often than not, is where it comes from. It's not because
horrible mistake.
Yeah, we don't come on to all this knowledge and experience by doing the right thing the very first time and being like, that is interesting. That worked out exactly as I foresaw that. No, it's like, I done fucked up.
Yeah, you got to learn the hard way sometimes, and that's how we've learned a lot of this crap.
Yep. So I had to crash and burn. And when this guy turned on me and put my private information public, called my boss, did all this stuff in the real world, published my personal details that nobody knew. I'd never told anybody about my handicapped son. I'd never told anybody about a lot of this. He went out there and just everything. Because I told this man everything. I cared about him. He was like my best friend.
Yeah, friend and brother.
And he was just like my best friend. He was just such a sweetheart. And I never, ever, ever saw it coming until here. So when you're dealing with someone who mixes, when you're dealing with someone who's a controller, says, "Why aren't you logged in? You were supposed to be in an hour ago." "Well, I had something come up at work. I'm running a little late." "I don't care. You should have called me and told me."
Yeah, or they're like, or because most of them won't say that. They'll just be like, whatever. Even that, pay attention.
Yeah, because that's how mine started. It started just like that, and then you're like, "Oh,
moving
dude."
Moving on to the other lunatic that we've known, Strafe.
How's it going, guys?
No, I'm not referring to you. I'm referring to your lunatic. But yeah,
I know. I know.
I've had several, and although that one
that's
was
the
probably
worst.
he who shall not be named was the
yeah. Yeah, and it's the pass. They go passive aggressive. All that controlling stuff that that people start to feel that we're all thinking, caring human beings for the most part, give or take Kishmas. So when somebody when somebody tries to guilt trip you, often it works because you do feel nobody wants to have to cancel a role. If I make a promise, there's nothing I hate, even if it's something as simple like, hey, I'm gonna log in tomorrow and we'll role play. I hate having to break that. It happens because family, work. I'm exhausted from both. I just can't do it. I hate doing it, but it happens. We all have to have it happen. But if I got a response like, "Hey, Jazz, I'm sorry, man. I just worked 11 hours today. I burnt the chicken. The dog's on fire. I can't make it in tonight." And she just said, "Whatever." Jazz and I wouldn't be role playing anymore.
That's how it goes.
And I don't tolerate it anymore either. If I tell someone, "Look, I'm busy. I can't make it tonight," or "I'm exhausted," and they're like, "Obviously, I'm not important to you."
Yeah. And there was a time I would have felt guilty, and I probably still would feel guilty. Like, but then I'd be like, I can't help it. This is just how life is these days. It's just how it is.
And that was the problem with my crazy, because they were disconnected in the real life from having to suffer the stuff that most of us have to deal with on an everyday basis. Gasoline, dinner, all that kind of stuff. Driving places. Oh, things came up. Can you drop me off? Hey, can you come pick me up? Hey, my friend needs help. That kind of stuff. Some of these people don't have to deal with. And so they kind of encapsulate themselves into these games, and that becomes their world. And so when something goes off the record, doesn't go according to plan, they flip out, and not in a good way.
And that's terrifying.
Exactly. And that's when it happens, you need to recognize it. Say,
The more I learned about this disturbed lady, the more I was like, I'm suddenly seeing why she is the way she is. It was freaking disturbing. Man, it sure went quiet.
Yeah.
There.
I've got lucky that I've never encountered anything like that. So, but I'm also very cautious.
Yes,
I'm
as you should be.
A very cautious RPer.
Well, you got good folks telling you what to look for too, and that's a bonus.
That's true.
Well, yeah, I've been taught to RP through you three, Ashen, Strafe, and Jazz. So I feel like I have a good head on my shoulders, and I'm just cautious. I just don't go running out and let's RP. No.
And after a while, I gave up on ERP and MRP completely. I went to Fade to Black. I stopped doing it completely. I was sick and tired of the psychos. My radar was broken. I had too many things in a row happen, and I was like, and all my roleplay died because all the people that I had surrounded myself with at the time all were ERPers, and when I wouldn't ERP anymore, I lost my roleplay, and I had to go back to basics. And now I will on occasion with people I know with the MRP, but usually I fade to black because we all have lives and who has time for that. But
the irony being the people who stuck around after you quit were probably your real buddies.
Right. And that's who I still roleplay with. Are you
and
guys?
I with you stopped doing it before you did, and the craziness level started spiking to crazy levels until finally she left or did something else, and I was like, all right, I can finally get away from this crap. But it took me cutting everything off to get that person to finally freaking leave.
Here, block there, go here, go invisible there, just completely.
And every once in a while, I'd make a mistake and leave myself visible somewhere, and suddenly there they are, waiting, just waiting. And I'm like, invisible. Romulan shield. Why did our Romulan cloak go off?
Cloak.
Not true, Commander. Shoot that man. Cloak it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, okay, so we still have quite a bit to go through. And we're only 2.5 hours into it. So, like we said, the above is ERP, not so much MRP. They can cross into each other. MRP, the mature stuff, is really just an extension of the relationship, and basically, it's good at roleplay. I mean, I could make the argument that any good roleplay is mature roleplay, because otherwise you're just making fart jokes all day long.
gore and
Right.
intense and all that is mature
Drama.
role play. It's not just
Yeah.
sex. It's
Yeah.
drama. It's part of the whole thing. And I love mature
Or as
role play.
people would call it, storytelling.
Right.
You know?
But I don't engage in the sexual side of things very much anymore because I don't trust people.
Yeah. It's just it's two adults that are mature enough to realize their characters' feelings for each other are not their feelings for each other. Now, you know, and like I love Jazz. I love her like a sister. I don't love Jazz. I only
It's
love
okay, Asher, I understand.
Yeah, I only love one person.
Yes.
And that's me. Oh, and Sib. Sib too. Yeah, Sib's in there too. Second place. But
I've been watching that pillow tonight, bro. It's gonna come for your face.
Right. But you know, and like we had been saying, Kishmis and Nathala, that's a mature. Jazz and I don't know whoever you're with now. I know you've got so many characters, it's not one person really.
Right.
Sib and I'm not being like because she's such a whore.
I spread it out.
Because she's got so many characters, she's a character whore. She's always had. I mean, again, we
I had 23 in EQ. I only have 6 now.
Yeah,
so.
we're still gonna have an intervention by the end of the year. This is a safe place, Jazz. You have way too many. You have an alcoholic problem. We've already done that episode though. So,
and I'm not gonna say I have more characters than her.
No, you know.
Looks away.
Yeah, keep looking away. But Sib and Sib and Strafe's characters, that's MRP. You know, they might make sexual comments. They might, you know, they're macking on each other and saying how pretty they are, and you know maybe you should shave your tusks down a little bit. But they
no, quite the opposite. You should make
No.
a little bit more sharp.
That's right. But it's still, you know, they fade to black, and it's still mature. They we had said earlier, they talk about just mundane stuff. They talk about magic. They talk about history, philosophy, their pasts, you know, their futures. You know, shit normal people talk about. I mean,
what's going on with their imaginary horse ranch? I mean, it's just that kind of stuff.
You know, so given the terms that we defined it, is ERP actually roleplay? And I think Jazz actually had put this into my head, and I think I've come around to your way of thinking it, is no, not really. It's just sexting in a video game. It's cybersex in a chat room. It's a throwaway session, one after another. The characters don't evolve. And unlike when mature roleplay, when eventually, you know, it breaks up, someone leaves the game, they move on, it takes a simple shrug of a shoulder and you're hitting on your next target. You know, it's about as substantive as a crusty sock.
Yeah.
You're not getting a lot out of it. It doesn't care about you. It was just the moment.
And like when Vaca lost Xanis, it was 2 or 3 years in real time before she got involved with anyone again. Yeah,
and honestly, that one hit me on a real world emotional level because I loved the characters, I loved their relationship. It was like getting to the end of pick your favorite book series, Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, it was so
whatever.
romantic.
You know, it was such a great story that we had created together that I just couldn't do EverQuest anymore, and you know, I just wasn't feeling it, and I had gone on far longer than the game really deserved, and she had a lot more stamina than I did because she went on years longer than I did.
Yeah,
she's got that stamina, bro. Here to tell you.
But
I like how they just keep sneaking them in.
Under the wire.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you expected. I mean,
thank you for finally saying what we were all thinking.
It was 3 years, 3 or 4 years. It was a long time before Vaca got married again, and she didn't have a relationship in that time.
Yeah,
she had
flings,
entertainment, but it wasn't a relationship. And I faded to black, so I didn't have a lot of role play in that particular department.
Yeah, and like so straight ERP, RP or no? What do you guys think? I mean, I told you what I think, but I want to hear you.
I say no because it burned me so bad that I just quit it altogether because it was just such a drama fest. Yeah. I think the MRP is more accurate to what storylines and ongoing character development will go to, but the straight ERP is just freaking online playing around being an idiot.
Yeah,
I enjoy both, so I
Yeah.
will still do it now. I'm
yeah,
relaxed and gotten
but
over
even
my
you're,
burn.
it still touches your whoops. It still has lasting effects on your characters.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
even
it
if
does.
it is that, which is
MRP
which
is something
not
I prefer.
ERP. Yeah.
ERP is something that happens outside of game. I think if I had to say if it existed at all, I don't do it.
Some people
anymore,
just happen
for the
to
most part.
basically. When I say with the ERP, I think it's just it's if they're not doing it on like Kick, whatever the app is, I think it's KIK
Yeah.
Kick. It just happens to be the fact that they're playing an MMO, and oh look, it came up and done.
Yeah.
And that's the extent of the it's Eric says ding dong, who is it? It's the plumber. You know.
Yeah.
So all right, so yeah, I mean, yeah, let's see here. Rentnos in the chat says, I think there's a line to be drawn between ERP and cybering when you're doing it. When you're doing to get off and when you're doing organically for character development. And see, and that's where we're.
But he's talking about MRP.
You're talking more about the mature role play, which is that's the character development. The ERP and cybering are basically, if you're the way we defined it earlier
there's
on.
no role play.
Right,
It's just dirty talk.
Yeah, it's sexting.
ERP is a role you've taken or you've made up two characters who are going to get it on.
Like
that's it.
And that's yeah. You made the character. You guys do your deed. The character never comes out again. Yeah. That's kind of the way a lot of that stuff works out because the mature stuff that really is it happens organically. Nethala and Kishimus, for example, like we said earlier, they didn't know each other as friends. Theirs was a little bit of a different way they got together, but it all happened organically only through the characters. And did it eventually lead to sexy time and kids and role marriage and all that stuff? Yeah. But it was never the point.
It still does happen.
Yeah.
It still does.
And I have had mature role play with a character, with another character, and they have remained friends. So it doesn't really count as ERP because the consequences to their relationship are still in effect. They still bump into each other at Riften. They're still friends. They still talk. They still laugh about what they did.
Yeah.
It's part of her story. What happened between her and the character? It just is over. They're just friends for the most part because he wanted marriage and she's totally not into that. So they decided to part as friends.
Yep.
But it's still mature role play because it's part of a story. The consequences are in play.
It doesn't exist in a bubble outside of time and space. It happened. It's a thing that still exists.
Right.
So let's see here. I lost my spot. So why do these things kind of go into your point earlier, Jazz? Why does it seem to cause so many problems? The above people that do it exclusively are often emotionally incapable or deficient in a few ways to handle that kind of thing.
Yes, I think that's where it comes from exactly.
Yeah. The OOC feelings versus in-character ones prevail, and that
drama
always
happens because one person or both people are assuming something that isn't going to happen or want something that isn't being communicated, or they're too emotionally immature or insane to handle the overreaching consequences, and they're assuming facts, not in evidence. There's all kinds of things, but that's why ERP/MRP can cause so much drama and why there are so many people who are like, it's bad, it's awful, go away. It's not bad in and of itself. The problem is that, in my opinion, role players call on and attract a certain level of instability, and people who have those instabilities are drawn either to feed or to be fed. And so when you add ERP to that, you add sex. Because of our fucked up way of looking at things in this society, sometimes sex equals love, therefore we're together forever, something like that. I mean, it's rarely mutual, so ta-da!
Yeah, I actually like Insomniac in the chat says, also on a side note, and I actually have to say I don't disagree with this, There's another type of person that's annoying. The preacher, someone who shames anyone who ERPs, even though they are probably doing far worse things secretly.
Yes.
Even if they're
covered
not,
that earlier.
and even if they're not, I actually think the preacher is kind of a good. It's the.
I think that's another form of controller, isn't it? I mean,
it would be because they're even if they're not, ERPing or doing the sex role play themselves, they're preaching. They're. Another way of putting it actually, other than preacher, would be shamers.
Yes, shamers and preachers are probably the same.
Would be in the same category, yeah, because
they're often doing exactly what they're trying to shame you.
Right, and even if they're not, why are you trying to shame somebody for something that has nothing to fucking do with you? It's my stance on like I've said, the LGBT thing. What the fuck do you care what they do? As long as they're not hurting you, who cares? Let them have fun. Let them do. If they love each other, love each other. I don't give a shit. Are you happy? No? Well, then you probably shouldn't do that. Are you happy? Yes? Keep going. And there's no reason to shame somebody for it. Don't kink shame people. That goes to a certain extent when you start to, Woody Allen it, but maybe there should be a little shame at times. But when it comes to stuff that's mutually agreed upon as adults, so what? Don't shame. There's no what. Other than trying to prove your moral superiority by being a douchebag, what are you doing? I mean, you're really going to change hearts and minds by calling people out and doing what you guys had said earlier about the someone sneaking in, taking pictures, and then posting them on EQ2 Flames. Why? Why did you do that? Other than just to be a shithole and try to shame people.
Just trying to be a douchebag. Yeah,
just trying to shame you. Yeah. What the fuck do you gain from annoying other people? Very good point, Insomniac. Nothing. They gain just moral superiority and I told them. Shut up, Thurston. So, all right. So, going into a different direction with this, Jazz, what are you typing? Quit fishing.
Sorry, I'm not fishing.
Fish quieter.
I'm talking in channel to RPM.
Time to shut up.
You shut up. So, to like I said, switching gears here, more not so much on the meta gaming, meta side of it, but the actual typing side of it. And this is a complaint I've heard from Jess, which is what made me think about it. And it's a complaint you can have from almost any roleplay, actually. How do you go about it? Because there's only so many ways you can type thrusts vigorously and oh baby, just like that, oh baby, with one hand. Like all RP and writing, descriptions matter. So typical writing conventions don't change just because you're having sex. Look at the shirtless Scotsman smut Harley Quinn books that are still very popular to this day. That stuff doesn't stick around because the women typing that, and the men at this point, I'm sure too, are just saying "oh baby" over and over again. No, there's throbbing, there's quivering, glistening, wave crashing, thrusts to the imagination, and baser fluidic mind juices all involved in this. Be descriptive. If you're gonna do that, don't half-ass it. Come on. You come out the other end of this being like having the person say, "God damn, I need a hot shower." Wait, cold shower.
Cold shower.
Cold shower. Yeah. Well, I mean, if they just want to finish off, hot showers work too.
True.
Oh gosh.
But it like Jazz, how many times have I heard that was of the many reasons you stopped doing it. One of them was like,
it's boring.
To quote, there's only so many ways I can type "oh baby" or read "oh baby" in just like that. It gets old. Be descriptive. There's
even the most descriptive, amazing roleplay will eventually become boring, and that's why even if I have characters that I am comfortable ERPing with or MRPing with, I'm not going to engage in it beyond fade to black most of the time, because if it's not going to change the character's life. We all know where it's going. We don't need to continue.
Right. It's going to end in a towel and a shower.
Yeah. So why continue it? We know where it's going to go. We've all people that are doing this have had sex before in their life. They know where it's going. It's not a mystery. So let's just, let it go. And, okay, let's fade to black. We know where this is going.
Yeah.
They had a great time. They went to sleep. Did they sleep together or did they part their separate? You have that conversation.
Yeah,
and
you
then
have that OOC conversation. Yeah.
You got the romantic thing. You got the kissing or the making out or all of the pre-stuff done. And once the pre-stuff is done, it's like, okay, can we just fade to black because the rest of this is going to be...
Yeah, exactly. So you just be descriptive, and if you are gonna go through with the act itself, man, at least try to make it interesting. Don't just the oomph 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 in and out in and out in and out. Yeah, you're not a burger joint. That's not how it works.
Oh,
I like to make it as visually descriptive as possible, and I am also perfectly willing to fade to black if it's
right. Especially if they're boring, because it's you've only got so much time in the day.
Yeah, I do not have all day. I have, and personally, I know that real sex really only takes somewhere between 10 and 25 minutes. So let's just speed this up a little bit and admit that it's probably over before it starts.
Too good not to say, as Insomniac just said, when you see someone using the word, or when you see someone use slit multiple bloody times.
Good God.
Oh, God. Yeah. And of course, the killer of all killers is, he enters her cervix. At that point, I have to throw the towel and say, we're done.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, all right. So, for the next part of this, if you're writing these things out, bring out the shame. Kinks. We all have them. I said earlier, I require a toy taxi and a picture of Moose eating walnuts just to get anywhere personally. Again, that's just my thing. But if you're going to play those fantasies out and your kinks out, often kind of a good idea to give the other person a little heads up that that's about to happen.
Yes.
Jazz and her penetrated tonsils can attest to this. I know, like she said, it was her cervix, but it's the same damn difference.
I don't mind if somebody has a kink, but yeah, it would be helpful because your kink may not be my kink.
A little heads up. And it could be a little
it can be
disorienting.
Very disturbing and disorienting if your kink and my kink match.
That's a whole lot of kink in one sentence.
And it sounds like you probably have one of those old 40-foot long phone cords that you pulled too long and now they're never going to come straight again. There's some 20-year-old out there like, what?
What's a phone cord?
Yeah.
Okay, see, back before these wireless phones, they had this long cord. It was like a pig's tail that was like 30 feet long. And when you would pull it too long, it never went straight again.
I still like the rotary dial. I felt like I was doing something like mystical.
Anyway. So, I can tell you a fun, stupid thing, but it has absolutely nothing to do with roleplay about how iPhone numbers and numbers worked and area codes work because of rotary dials, but there's no point to that. If you want to know, ask me later.
Ask him in the chat.
That's right.
Google it.
So, yeah, kinks, again, role-playing kinks out, that's obviously kick. I mean, if I tried searching, because of this podcast, I've searched lots of roleplay stuff. There's a reason we're only able to get so many people. It's because a lot of people that do what they call roleplay, it's really just ERP on things like I said, kick, and there's the tags for like looking to play My Little Pony or Bronies or looking for Harry Potter roleplay. And then when they say roleplay, they're more like, yeah, so you be Draco, I'll be Harry, and we'll get together. That's the kind of stuff. Yeah, and that's like,
ERP
that's
right
ERP.
There.
That's ERP cyber
it's just
stuff. Yeah.
Erotic. It's just erotic storytelling with two people, and you've got parameters that you want to stick with.
Yeah,
that's what ERP is.
Which is why things like hashtag roleplay typically 90% of the time lead to that stuff, not the stuff we're talking about.
Right.
So if you're here for that, sorry, this is not your episode. And it never will be.
And they really should have known that because we haven't been
talking about any of that. Yeah.
I mean, ERP rather. So
So, and also going to Jazz's thing, when it comes to that.
Please, God, know your anatomy.
Thank you. That was it. Know where certain parts of the body end and other parts are impossible to penetrate.
Yes.
Like the
And
back
if
of
That just means you're not trying hard enough.
I had to stop a roleplay one time and say, you do understand that my cervix, there's no way you got into it unless your penis is the size of a pin.
And you can also twist it into the shape of multiple pretzels.
Oh God.
So yeah, it was an interesting moment when he argued with me. I'm like, I've had 2 babies. I would know. So, no, that doesn't happen. Do you know what labor is? Well, it's when you have a baby. Labor hurts because your cervix is expanding so that the head can come out of it. It hurts.
Unless you get the epidural, then you're golden.
That's true, but it still eventually hurts.
Yeah, just remember they're only putting a giant needle into your spinal cord, so.
Oh, Lord.
And you have to hold still for it while you're contracting. It's a whole lot of fun. They say, okay, don't move, right as your contraction hits. Yeah.
Not to get to too much anatomy here, but Yunfi says that she loves that they argued with you. You own a cervix.
I know, right? No, he explained that the cervix works that way when you're aroused. Like I was an idiot.
This is the same argument. Was this? No, not to get into politics. Was this still the same Republican guy that also said that when a woman's raped, everything shuts down so they can't get pregnant? Is this that guy?
Probably.
Okay,
no.
just checking.
But probably was, yeah.
He's not in office anymore. He didn't last long. But yeah, there was actually. I think he was going off of a 1970s study that was like, when women are raped, their bodily systems shut down so that they can't get pregnant because they're not enjoying it.
Yep.
What an idiot.
No.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
so
it was a local, to be fair, local congressman.
Yes, and I've had statements like that before, like a guy who claimed he could bite off my nipples and they would just grow back.
Sorry.
Excuse me?
Now, okay, hold on.
Chomp.
Now, hold on. Let me say this.
Terrifying.
There are plant people in Guild Wars 2. It is possible.
No, Ashton, you took it
I'm
there.
just saying,
I was not a plant person at the time in roleplay.
You put a little ranch on that, and you've got a salad.
So all you're saying is, baby, show me them freaking melons.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The thing
With
is,
a little pepperoni on it.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
It's actual melons.
So wrong.
Show me them veggies. Oh, you know the one.
Now see, and that's where creative roleplay comes in. It might be possible.
I'm just,
but not on a flesh
Like he
character.
thought it would be erotic. That was the thing. I was like, this is not vor.
Yeah, and that's, I mean,
This
there are people that hang themselves by hooks out of their back skin.
That's true.
So,
That's
I mean,
true,
there are
but
all
we were
those.
not doing those. No. No.
Yeah, thanks, Rahanar. Brings a whole new meaning to the term eating the bush.
Yes, it does. Vor people are very interesting.
Yes. Okay, so kind of finally closing down on this. When it comes to all of this stuff, remember, wear protection. ERP has one other horrible side effect, and that is
I'm pregnant.
baby RP. Have your characters spayed or neutered.
Tattoos work, folks. RP and magical tattoo works great, and you can't get around it.
Yeah. Also, don't be like that one guy. I think Jazz, you had said in an episode where they're like, they got pregnant by people by not telling them about it, by like, touching them or something. They absorbed their genetic material, like some sort of creepy.
And then had babies by
odd
standing
enough
next
by
to
like some sort of creepy plant person. Oh my God, it's gone full circle.
And there was a person who had to have sex, hold the sperm inside them, and then use it later, like years later, to make the baby.
Oh, I know what that's from.
That's creepy.
That's Dune.
That is Dune.
That it's what's the chicks would do. What are you nerds out there? You know who I'm talking about.
Witching?
Yeah, the Witching Way chicks. It's been so long since I've listened to Dune. Yes, the Bene Jesuits. Yep, they actually had that. They could take in like poisons and viruses into their body and then release them. That's how one of them got the big fat Baron guy. That's how he got big and fat. He used to be super buff. Screwed with the wrong Bene Jesuit. She poisoned him, and now he got all bloated and fat. So remember, Dune is a super weird book series.
Well, this wasn't Dune, and I was not going there.
No, and that's definitely it's
that was one of those moments as a guild leader where I had to make them repeat it twice.
Yeah. All right. Okay, and this one's actually kind of a serious one. Lastly, and honestly, most importantly, which is why I saved it for last. If it makes you uncomfortable, and you are not ready for it, and you do not want to do it, do not engage.
That's right.
Never
tell
let
them no.
anyone pressure you into role play you aren't comfortable with, be that torture role play, combat of some kind, or ERP, or a relationship. Men, women, both sides, both sexes get pressured into this, and they feel it, and because of like what Jazz had said earlier, where she's like, "Oh, these are my friends, but I'll stop and they'll still be my friends," and they gone overnight. Let them be gone. Even if you are, and that changes, if you're being pressured, just don't do it to please others. They might cut you off, like I just said. It happens because that's all they want, and if that's how it goes, they are not your friend to start with. You don't have a friend; you have an abuser.
Yeah, and those folks that pressure you are the freaking absolute worst. Do not give them a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
You just say no. It doesn't matter why. You have the right to pull the plug on any role play that makes you feel uncomfortable. I don't care if they think it's silly.
Yeah, they can think it's stupid.
I told you about the one where the chick got kissed and said it was rape.
Right.
The only thing that I said about this to the other person was, if she had said no, you would have had to have stopped. And he argued with me because it was a kiss. And I said, no.
They're not comfortable
when you
with it.
talk to someone, if they say they are uncomfortable, you stop. I don't care how silly you think it is.
In character, if they're doing the in character playing hard to get thing, OOC is there for a reason. If someone tells you OOC, knock it the fuck off, you knock it the fuck off. And if you don't, you're going to be put on. You deserve to be put on block or whatever else happens to you after that.
Yep. 100% on you. If somebody says they're uncomfortable, I don't care if you think it's ridiculous. You stop.
For example, and I know I've told the story before, how Jazz and I first met. We had met, well, not how we first met. We met and we role played, but the first interaction that almost became intimate. In character, I backed off. Out of character, I told her I've made a promise to my now ex-wife. I'm not going to ERP. I'm not going to do that mature kind of stuff. If that's not all right with you, I get it. It's cool. We'll just move on. And she, obviously that's not how Jazz thinks, but she was okay with it. And
I was like, that's fine. We don't have to do anything.
And I totally, I never, honestly, because I didn't know her that well then. I'd only known you for maybe a month or two or something like that. And even then, off and on, I never expected to hear from her ever again. Because that's typically how it goes. I mean, remember I'm wrong?
Yeah.
No,
you're not.
99% of the time, that would have been the last conversation we ever had.
No, but I meant it. And I've had people tell me that they're uncomfortable. Then we don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm. What's that,
100% okay with me.
For a second, when you first started that little tirade, I thought you were going to say, how I Met Your Mother. And I was like, oh, yeah? Tell me more. Horrible. It's not true. Xander says, not my father.
And because of that, in character, she was more fascinated by him than anybody she had ever met. Because nobody up to that point had said no.
No, nobody. And I rolled specifically to find out how she would take it. And I rolled very, very high. And I was like, okay, she's fascinated with
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
because it was great role play.
Yeah, it was both in character and for her out of character. She's like, huh, that's not happening yet.
Somebody that didn't want to do that and was completely cool with, just being friends. I had not come. I didn't meet a lot.
You have to remember too, because this would have been about 2005, which means she had barely 2000.
Because we started the guild in 2005. So
okay,
this
so
would have been
2006. Yeah, so
Yeah.
12 years ago now. And she'd
Wow.
only been role playing in EQ2 was her first, role play game like that, in an MMO. So she didn't have a lot of experience, and not like now where she's been told yes more times than not, but she's been told no too.
Yes.
So I was the first to be. I was the first in a way of
Yes.
being different, and that
You were the
was
first
okay.
person that wasn't bitchy about it, that wasn't mean. You were just like, look, this is the way it is. We can still roleplay. We just can't roleplay this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I actually felt I was super nervous. I was like, because I had so much fun. I was like, and here's where it stops.
Yeah.
Man, I really should have gone the other way.
I will say I agree with Ashen on that because I have tried ERPing once and I got so embarrassed.
And it was with me.
Well, I have done it with one other person.
Oh, that's
but
right,
I
yeah.
had your okay to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
I was
that
so
after with me.
uncomfortable. I could not do it. And I don't want to do it again. I will say, I love the smut novels.
Harley Quinn stuff, yeah.
I'm a huge fan of it. I enjoy reading
She
it.
likes the romance.
So I would rather fade to black and let my own imagination take over where the characters end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because to me, my imagination is way better than what.
Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby.
I don't know. It's just I was like, no. It just was really I was so uncomfortable. So if you're uncomfortable, don't do it.
And now I've got her doing Hot Jessica ad reads.
I know, and I get so embarrassed.
I blame myself for Hot Jessica, but hey,
She was your
thing.
creation. Yeah, I was thinking of
Yes.
that when I was writing. I was like, I can't believe Strafay created this, and she's the one that has to voice act it.
And I get so embarrassed. I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
You really just got to blame Gormal because he kind of dug
fucking
her up.
Gormal. So, all right, guys. Well, we've gone. This is, like I said, I knew this was going to be a long episode. I figured it would be. It's a contrary. When I was advertising this in a few different places, they're like, "What are you going to talk about on that?" Like, there's not much to talk about. Yeah, there's about 3 hours worth of solid talk on that.
It's real.
If you really, that's one of the things we've loved about doing this show is, we like role play. And on the surface, it's extremely simple, but it's kind of like a good video game. It's simple to get into, hard to master. And there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of fun things that we can talk about. And is it all silly? Yeah, it's role play. That's the point. It's a hobby. It's a fun hobby, but it's a hobby that, I don't go in building model airplanes and acting like I on my first model airplane, I know what the fuck I'm talking about to other guy that's been doing it for 25 years. It doesn't work that way. He knows shit I don't. And that's kind of the whole point. And we do it live so that we can interact with you guys, as has happened tonight with four different callers, I think. 5. I can't remember now.
We got a lot of callers tonight.
Right. Yeah, and everybody talk to us in the chat. We appreciate all of your input. Does anybody have any final words? Any thing
Just
you want to wipe
respect-
off?
Just respect what people, if they don't want to do that, just respect it. And don't shut them out.
It's not
because
personal.
You may lose a really good role play friend, or, just because you want an ERP, but they don't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I tell everybody up front, I don't ERP. I will not do it. I am very, cautious on even relationship RP. I've not been in a relationship with anybody other than Ashton until Strafay, and that happened slowly over months. So just
I
be
feel dirty
respectful.
somehow now.
You corrupting man whore.
Just be respectful of other people's, how they want to play their game.
Yeah.
Jazz, I got a parting thought.
What?
Was it good for you, darling?
Oh yeah, baby.
Thank you, Kishmas, for groaning at that.
Can I do the oh baby, oh baby, oh baby?
Yeah, again, referring to Morocco's Modern Life, look it up. He was a phone sex worker.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, appreciate everybody for tuning in over at twitch.tv/RPM Radio.
We love you all.
Yes, we
All.
I know this has been one we've actually been asked to several times off and on throughout the last 2 years. I will make one show note. Given that it's Thanksgiving next fucking week, you're right, yeah, it's almost turkey time. We are not going to have an episode next weekend because basically these days with work and family, Thanksgiving runs from Thursday to Sunday for any number of people whenever they can get a time off. And I know we've got people that are going to be working Thanksgiving Day here. People are going to work Thanksgiving Black Friday. So it's,
and I'm moving a client on Saturday, so that's a relief because I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. So
yeah, but no, it's just too much. So we give, I graciously give people the day off.
We're getting a vacation, guys.
From the second job that I don't pay them for, and they do voluntarily because they're just as lunatics and psychotic as I am, and enjoy this shit so much. So, no show next week. It's not a glitch. It's just how it is. I think that'll cover it. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. rpmmoradio.com/discord. Join our Discord server. Patreon.com/rpmmoradio. Thanks again, Gangy Girl, for the 1,000 bits to make sure I never do that one noise again, which I am a man of my word and will not do this episode. I also want to thank all of our callers, Smiley Sorcerer, Mikey, Ericus, Yunfei, you still count. I feel like I'm missing somebody and I forgot.
You still count.
Well, she's not technically a caller, but she can come in at any time. Shit. Oh, I can't remember. You guy, that one person that also called in, you're awesome. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. I'm shit with names. So
Ericus?
Nah, I already said Ericus.
Okay.
Can you not remember, or do you just remember it differently?
I think I remember it drunkenly.
Ah, that works.
Oh, baby. So, all right. Well, again, thanks everybody for listening. I, of course, am Ashton Phoenix, and I want to thank my crew, Jazz, Kishma, Sib, and Strafe, as well as our call screener, Rahanar, and Yunfei in the chat. Apparently, I did remember all 4 of them. So,
you did good
for me. I smart. But, all right, well, with that, I want everybody to tune in next time for our documentary series on the procreation and ways of reproduction in halflings and how gross and utterly disgusting it is. We're going to get in real up close on that camera angle. So let me tell you, you're going to see fur in places that you should never see on another living being. Next time on RPMMO Radio. Good night, everybody. The thoughts and opinions of those on RPMMO Radio are just that and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great video game rock covers and original music.